That's not the first time I've seen that.
It's not offensive.
No.
I was going to say, is that borderline offensive?
Top of the morning to you.
Okay, you gentlemen. I can't get the accent up. Now, I did notice
you can't know.
none of you are ginger, which is very disappointing.
I know that.
Well,
I don't have any hair, but
yeah. If I give you like an extreme close up on the beard, there's a bit of ginger in the beard. That tends to be like a genetic trait of Scottish guys. Like the hair on top is like is dark brown / silver, which is a recent addition. But yeah, ginger beard is definitely like it's in the genes up here. Yeah.
Okay. So
I should have had a can of Terence. You shouldn't have.
I should have had Iron Brew as well. I never even. I'm missing a trick here. I don't even know that. I'm shameful. I've got Scottish milk.
Just go to the tap and get some.
I was literally at the supermarket today, and like I was looking at the cans of Iron Brew, and I was like, "No, I'll get some Pepsi Max instead." That's I missed a trick there.
Isn't it just Tizer?
Tizer?
Oh,
no.
Show my age.
No. Tizer is nice as well, but Tizer is not Iron Brew. Don't get me started.
1901.
Yeah, don't get me started on the whole reduced sugar Iron Brew extra 1901 debacle. That's just shameful. The 1901 is good, but like it's like the one I want bars Iron Brew 1990. Like that's the one that was like had a decent amount of sugar in it, but it wasn't 1901 levels, and they didn't charge you extra because of a sugar tax.
Your teeth are literally.
I campaign with a guy that's smacking nuts with the can.
I couldn't get any McEwens, but it's hot.
Oh, well, you don't want McEwens or Tenants. I don't actually drink, but like they both taste like shite.
Yeah. That's water.
So
like Corona and Miller is what I used to drink.
You might want to put the subtitles on if you're south of the border.
Yeah, I know. I might need them too.
The more Scotsmen you put together, just the quicker the speech will get as well.
Yeah.
I did suspect that. But any ignorant Sassenarchs in the chat can always put it on slower on the free.
Sassenarch? I haven't heard that word before.
Ignorant Sassenarch?
Oh. Sorry, I'm just reading some of these comments, so I'm laughing in advance.
Oh wait, have we started? I didn't even know we started.
I know what he's talking about.
Right, I'll bring up the comments now then.
Hi,
Rob's here.
I'm not going to steal your thunder, Gareth. But
yeah, it's on your channel, so yay. Or is it, Echo's here. Good evening, good afternoon, Echo, as he's
Echo
in the US.
That is a cool thumbnail.
It's got a good mask collection.
he doesn't even kill it.
Scottish.
Gareth is Scottish. That's why he's got.
Yeah, I'm a Celt, but not high enough. What else you got? Francis here.
Russ Abbott. See you, Jenny.
Is that something you say on a daily basis, you three?
Only when we're talking to folks down south in the borders when we're trying to put them in their place.
Welsh contingent. Good. Nos with da, he nos.
Yeah. Gesundheit.
I don't know what Jim's on about.
Hello.
Something Latin.
How you doing, Jim?
Oh, that's offensive. You can't say groundskeeper Willie. Well, that's a good start off because people complained about Apu and then he got changed, but no one gives two hoots about groundskeeper Willie.
I love him. I like groundskeeper Willie, man. He's a good rep. I mean, he's in shape. He's got a job. You know.
I was just about to say he's groundskeeper Willie.
Like the classic episode where they're riffing on Alien when he's like, he gets oiled up and he's like going through the shafts. I'm like, that dude's in shape. So yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's the one I get the most of all people that are non-Scottish. It's groundskeeper Willie. How come can you do groundskeeper Willie's voice? No.
I don't think I've ever had that.
I've never been asked that.
I get Jerry Butler a lot. Like,
that's Sparta.
Sorry for you, mate.
Yeah.
Compared to Jerry Butler.
That's not bad.
But again, groundskeeper Willie, dude's in shape. Jerry Butler, circa 300, was in amazing shape. So, none of these are insults, guys.
If anyone wants to show off their abs, they're welcome to.
Yeah, no, we'll maybe, give me like 9 months and we'll come back to that.
There's nothing as nearly as a greased Scotsman or something, is it?
That's right. That's the line. Yeah.
If I had to honestly say, the most offensive stereotype is the stingy one. I find that offensive. I get that. I work in customer service, and I get that a lot as well. The stingy one. The joke is that you know how copper wire was invented, don't you? Someone threw a penny at two Scotsmen, and Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
No, never heard that one.
Never in my life heard that.
Well, there you go. The Scrooge McDuck is to me, he needs to be cancelled, man.
Oh, yes, there you go. I'll start a petition for that. So interesting. Hello, everyone. Richard Ross. At least one redhead viewer. There you go. Welcome, Richard.
Well, we did establish there's a little bit of ginger in the beard.
Definitely image represent.
It doesn't have the braiding though.
So. No, not yet. Although if I showed you my lockdown beard, that was braided at one point.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. It was, like anything to keep the kids entertained. So like my oldest was like, can I braid your beard? And I was like, fine, whatever, go for it.
I thought it was going to be an invasion into Parliament to finally get your independence.
Nah, that would require too much effort.
I have a question for you. Why do you think the new original Iron Brew, but they released, cost £1 in B&M for the tall thin can?
We kind of touched on that, didn't we? So I'm assuming you're talking about Bars 1901. It's this is like a boring tax discussion, so we'll keep this brief. It's basically the sugar tax. They had to reduce the sugar content to avoid paying the extra tax, so they brought out 1901 that had the extra sugar, but they're charging more because of the sugar tax. So if anyone else has a more entertaining answer to that, feel free to pipe in.
I think you covered it well, man. Other than it's really nice. It's the one.
Yeah, and it's nice. Yeah,
it's nice. Vass is here saying hello. So yes, Mike's here. Scotland is even further north than Liverpool. Yeah, too far. I said I'd go past as far as Gloucester, and then the rest of the country's dead to me.
Liverpool's a good city. I've been there a few times. I like Liverpool.
Right, there you go.
I have a theory about the further north you go, the nicer the cities are. But I don't want to alienate anyone in the chat.
Well, let's start with Terence. Where do you hail from, Terence?
I'm from Glasgow, Scotland.
As am I. I'm also a Ouija.
Awesome.
A Ouija board? What?
Oh, a Ouija.
Yeah.
I'm not playing with those.
Glaswegian, Ouija.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
And Andy?
I'm from Ayrshire, so not too far away from Glasgow, but it's a similar accent to the Ouijas, but there's some slight differences.
Well, there's more Ned in our accent than there is yours, mate.
You ken that.
Yeah, a Ned for anyone not from Scotland would be like a chav.
Non-educated delinquent.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
See, this is a school lesson for you, Gareth.
It is. I'm learning. Everyone's learning. Welcome everyone to the lesson. We'll end it later. Now, whatever he's on about.
Eat yourself, piece of Tadger.
You can guess what Tadger is. Or can you?
I think I've heard that one. Yeah. Rabsy Nesbitt might mention that one. A hero among the Scots, he is.
Yes.
Oh, do you like the critical Jinker?
No.
I've only recently, literally in the past week or two, discovered his channel and whatnot. So I've only watched 1 or 2 videos. So I haven't seen enough to form an opinion. I don't think.
I think he's a.
Why aren't movies as good as they used to be? Why aren't men stoic men? why are we getting so many women in films? It's not fair. It's like boring. It's the same thing every time.
I mean, don't get me wrong.
There's no depth to. I honestly don't know. I think I can guess why it's really successful, because all the crybabies go there and sort of like, cry about why they don't have girlfriends because they're.
There's half the chat gone.
So I think you're dancing around the subject a bit. Terence, tell us how you really feel.
What?
The critical trigger.
Oh yeah, I just think he's boring. He's very boring. It's this whole kind of it's sort of like constantly complaining about wokeness, but really not making a point about it. It's just like, there's Hollywood is just full of. He makes these claims that the writers are. He makes the claims that the writers are all woke for some reason, and they've got this woke agenda. Like he's actually interviewed as if he's got insight, but he has no insight. He's just using guesswork that the writers of Captain Marvel or Last Jedi are woke for some reason. Yeah, possibly the studio has some sort of agenda. They have a sort of thing set up, but not the writers. He seems to attack the writers that he has no quotes from. He just plucks this information from nowhere, and I find it crap. Sorry, that's my opinion. Okay, the guy is immensely popular, but I really don't understand why.
But he's Scottish.
I think he's got
to do with that. I don't care if he's Scottish. I don't care if he's Mongolian. It just sucks.
Well, I was going to play some music tonight, but I don't want to get.
What is that?
What is that?
Hang on, let me make it bigger. So you can see it properly. You don't own this.
No, but as a vinyl collector, I think I need to seek that one out.
It's probably in a lot of charity shops.
Yeah, like I've just got the Braveheart soundtrack in the background here.
Is that by Bert Shorthouse?
Wow,
that's a new one. Because we would get taken off if we start singing Old Lang Syne.
Yeah.
Can't say I'm a fan.
Do any of you play the bagpipes?
No,
I don't.
I tried once or twice. But yeah, it's hard. Like as a musical instrument, like it's hard.
Oh yeah,
I just look at someone's face when they're playing it. They look like a heart attack. So
yeah,
you have a piper down.
Yeah, like working in like events and weddings and things like that. Like I've seen, like I'm friends with a lot of pipers. So I've had a go once or twice. And I got an official lesson once, like 15 years ago. But yeah, it's hard, and it's I think musically it's an acquired taste. Like it's fine at a wedding or a funeral. However, beyond that, it's there's not a huge demand for it unless it's like like pipe band championships or it's like a parade in Boston or something like that.
I love when they have the pipe festival in Glasgow Green. That is wonderful.
Yeah, that is good.
Playing it right. There's so many people that play it wrong. I mean, one time when I was working in the city centre, there was this busker, and he was playing the bagpipes like he was freaking John Coltrane. It was awful, right? I was working in an office at the time, and all I could hear was this piper all the time playing it like. He was awful, and he'd be there every fucking day. That was at work. Pardon my French, but it put me right off the bagpipes. But then I went to the pipe festival, and it was phenomenal.
Aye.
Great.
I mean, I think that like the pipe festival being like a festival, being the overall vibe and atmosphere there, it's just like it's more like it's like a gathering with food and drink that happens to have pipes as well. It's
and they're playing it right.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like bagpipes, I was saying it's like a difficult instrument to play, but it's like the margin for error between sounding good and sounding utterly terrible is so small. And things like even the weather and the humidity outside actually affects like the sound. This is like Piper Pals have told me this. Like that's why when a piper's tuning up, like he doesn't want anyone to hear him because it sounds absolutely terrible. But like if the pipes have been left inside and then you come outside and like the temperature's totally different, there's something about like the tunage just totally changes, you know?
Yeah.
They're very typical Scottish, though. I mean, even the sound of them, the way they look, like they're such an aggressive sounding instrument.
Yeah.
Which maybe is a bit stereotypical of us, but I like that. I think the fact that it's synonymous with the military as well. So
yeah. Is that not part of the history of the pipes? Because they would play them going into battle because they're such a loud, aggressive instrument. It's like everyone's like, "What the fuck? What is that?"
Yeah,
I imagine not
haunting as well. It's kind of frightening.
Apparently, Jim can't understand me, but you three are fine. So I find you cannot understand the words coming out of my mouth. Oh, there we go. Let's start with the films then. Obviously, that's the big one. Everyone's favorite Scotsman.
Hate that.
Mel Gibson.
Hate that movie.
Ooh, I find
that offensive. Sorry. Hey, but you know.
No, you go first. Why do you find that offensive?
Because it completely vilifies an entire group of people, and I dislike the what it did. Right, I'm not getting political, right, but the fact that certain people in this country use that film as a way of promoting nationalism, right, and I'm not getting political at all. I just think to base your sort of that vibe, that sort of patriotism on Hollywood film that is full of, like most Hollywood, like every Hollywood film, it's just full of factual errors as well. And I just, to be an English person in 1995, to walk out, to be in a bar after seeing Braveheart in a Scottish bar, heaven help you. I remember I was there, and you would come out of the theatre going, English bastards, English bastards. And I don't know, it was like a microcosm of what Birth of a Nation did 100 years ago. A microcosm, right? I'm not comparing it to Birth of a Nation, but it's got that kind of attitude. We're taking a historical event and we're changing it so that we can get these people fucking riled up, and I don't like what it did. At the time I was totally taken away with it. Right, I remember the film had an intermission, and I was like, man, if the film ended just there, I would be happy. I was so taken away with it, but I was so full of hatred for English people because of this film.
The film had an intermission.
I saw it in the Paisley Kilburn in 1995, and it had an intermission.
It's about 3 hours long, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a shade over 3 hours. I don't remember. I saw it in the cinema. I don't remember it being. I don't remember there being an intermission. Andy,
not all theatres did that.
No, not all.
Paisley Kilburn was an old theatre that would do that.
Right.
But if you went to see it in the Odeon or something, they wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm sure it was an Odeon. Probably, I think it was the Odeon at the Quay or the Odeon in Renfield Street that I went to see. And
they didn't do an intermission, but the Kilburn and Paisley that I saw at did, and we were fucking like, right? And it people jumped on it. Alex Salmond for one, and the media, the Daily Record, they jumped on that, right? For good or bad. I'm not saying what the outcome of that. Of what happened with Scotland as a country was bad. I'm just saying that it felt as though this movie was pushing for that. And to have a fucking statue erected of Mel Gibson at Stirling Castle, come on, that's just embarrassing. Hey, all right, it did wonders for the tourism, and it felt good at the time. But in hindsight, I think that it created this myth about English people, and that whole thing about the fucking. Is it Ben and Nocte or something like that? It's called where
Prima Nocte.
Prima Nocte. That didn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
Right. Right. That is pure Hollywood garbage, and I find that offensive. Yeah. There you go.
I'm gonna give a counterpoint to that. I fucking love Braveheart. I'm curious though, if you don't mind me asking, like, what age were you in '95 when you saw it?
16.
Interesting. So you're only a few years older than me. I would have been, I think, 95, 80 years. I was 12 when I saw Braveheart. It was the first 15 certificate movie that I got into in the cinema. So I think what I'm about to say is linked to age, even though there's only 4 or 5 years between us when we would have saw it. But as a 12-year-old, I no idea about politics, about any of that stuff.
Neither. That's like I said, I was taken away with it for years. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. It's only in hindsight that I've watched it since, and I'm like, God's sake, because they don't give you one single English character that is any good, besides the gay prince who kills himself, right? And okay, you get at the very end where they're crying out for mercy when he's being killed. That's it. You've got to have some balance with people who still exist. It's okay to fucking hate the Romans and the Nazis. They don't exist anymore in a movie. But when you're taking an entire group of people who live right next door to you and making them into being like fucking terrorists, it's harmful. It's harmful.
I mean, I'm okay with I can totally disassociate. I treat it like I know it's completely historically inaccurate. But that's fine. It's for me. It's just a piece of entertainment. Like it could be 2 different countries. It could be Mars and Venus in the story. Yeah. I just think at the time and still today, I just really like the movie. I think it's a really good movie. But
it's a brilliantly made movie, and I think that's why it was so. It's kind of dangerous in that aspect.
Yeah, I don't really.
It's well made. It is a great movie. And Mel Gibson's accent's a bit wonky. Who cares?
I was going to say we should probably get to the question. Talking about Mel Gibson's actual accent, it's not the best rendition of a Scottish accent by a non-Scotsman. It's certainly not the worst. I would give it. Well, let's give it scores. I would give his Scottish accent. I'm going to be generous and give it 6 out of 10 for his accent.
6 sheep stomachs out of 10. Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Andy, Mel Gibson's accent, give it a score out of 10.
I think Mel Gibson's accent is actually okay as far as like foreigners taking on the Scottish accent goes. I think it's a shade better than if 5's, the middle. If 5 is acceptable, then I would say 6. I'd probably kind of follow you, Jimmy, on the 6. But just to give you my thoughts on it, I'm kind of in the same camp as Jimmy, Terence, but I do appreciate what you're saying. But I think you're right, and not to get political again, but you're right in that certain minded people in Scotland, are drawn to violence anyway, and drawn to bigotry and drawn to hatred and hate crime and all that, might see it as an excuse to hate the English or whatever, and it might decide.
And that would fan the flames. It would push them a little bit more. I think it did. There have been studies done on it. It's one of these ones that I've been meaning to do a deep dive into, just so that I can lose subscribers, because I think that's what happened, right?
All the Scottish
people ask me about it. People ask me about Braveheart a lot, and I do give them the honest answer that I find it kind of offensive. I mean, personally, I know it's bullshit. It's just it's about as realistic as Buckaroo Banzai, right? When it comes to factual history, but fine. And I don't feel offended by it, but I can see, and I've met people that are like, fucking Braveheart's my favourite movie, fucking Iron Brew, they're just so into it. And I remember the tabloids at the time where it was just, they really used it to sort of push their political agenda at the time. And I think it did push things in a certain direction. I think it had an impact on the future for this country, good or bad. I'm not saying that was wrong. It's just kind of strange to have a film that would have that kind of impact.
I like it from an entertainment standpoint, the same as Jimmy. I think it's a well-executed movie. It gets the juices going if you're Scottish, like it did. I know now you've got different. Back in the day, it gets you psyched up. But it's almost like the 90-minute bigotry thing with Celtic and Rangers, right? And bigotry is not acceptable in any, whether it's 90 minutes or full frontal bigotry, but it's that kind of idea, I think, where some people you can get fired up and hate the English for 3 hours, but the minute it ends, that you don't actually hate the English, because people are saying these people still exist. Well, you could argue, yes, English people still exist, but not English people with that mindset back then. It's different. It's a totally different culture. So
it doesn't really make that apparent, though. It just says they're all. Because that's what I'm saying. If you're going to make a film about a certain group of people these days, at least give us a character or a group of people who are not like that are opposed to it. And it does very, very briefly, like I said, the prince who kills himself and those people crying out for mercy at the end, and that's it. Give us some more English people, because it feels like it's the entire nation. We know it's just the army and whatever, but it feels like it's not. The whole country are just fucking evil.
If it was made today, it definitely would be.
Yeah. It would be a different movie if it was made today, for sure. To go back to 101 Bronson's question about the accent, so Mel Gibson's accent being, a 6-ish out of 10. Something that totally surprised me. I don't know when I discovered this, but so Brendan Gleeson, who plays the pal who plays Hamish, he's Irish. I didn't know that. I assumed he was Scottish because his accent was a 10 out of 10. Like,
you tend to find that with Irish actors, though. They tend to be able to do Scottish accents, no problem.
I mean, they're close. I mean, it's, the Irish accent, Scottish accent. But I just remember, like, I think when I saw him in 28 Days Later and he had the English accent, I was like, wait, he's English? And then I heard him on an interview and he was like Irish. And I was like, whoa. So, like, accent-wise, in Braveheart, Mel Gibson, 6 out of 10. But Brendan Gleeson, as an Irishman, he did a 10 out of 10. Like, I was convinced he was Scottish.
It helped that he has the ginger hair in that as well.
Yes,
so that kind of goes that gives you an extra star as well.
Yeah.
Subconsciously.
So is Glasgow accent the strongest Scottish accent, or is it more out in the Hebrides?
No, like up north in the Highlands is the strongest Scottish accent. Like there's I've been on jobs like way up north in Dornoch, and I've started a conversation with someone, and I've got my broad Glaswegian accent. They've got a broad in Dornoch, and Dornoch is like it's top of the country. And after about 60 seconds, we both kind of stopped and we both acknowledged that we can't understand each other. So let's start the conversation again. So no, I think as much as the Glaswegian accent is a strong accent, and I think by and large, Glaswegians tend. Something just fell down.
Ghost.
Let me just fix that. That's the ghost of Mel Gibson, even though he's not dead.
Let me just check this.
Yeah, like he's where was I with the accents? Aye, so the like Glaswegians, I think by and large do speak really fast. But the up north Highland accent, it's a slower accent, but Jesus, that's a tough accent to follow as a Scotsman. At least that's my experience.
All right.
Just a quick side note on Mel Gibson. When I was at 95, I would have been 9, 10. And obviously Mel Gibson all of a sudden became this massive figure. He was already a huge actor anyway, but he was massive in Scotland because he was now our William Wallace. But my grand's maiden name is Gibson. And she had a few vodkas one night and she thought it was funny to tell me that Mel Gibson was related to us and that he was actually a distant cousin. So I thought he was my uncle, right? So she convinced me that Mel Gibson was basically Uncle Mel. And I used to tell my pals at school about it. And my mum and dad didn't have the heart to tell me that my gran was just pissed in the wind-up. I believe that. Wait a minute. We would have heard more from him if he actually was related.
It's my presence.
That's so cool.
That's a shame. Franz is here. Of course, Rabsy Nesbitt. Do you think that still holds up?
I've not watched an episode of that in a long time. Like I remember it being like on TV, like back when TV was like 4 channels to choose from. So like you did. I remember it being on TV at the time growing up, and I remember enjoying it because it was one of the few things that was like natively Scottish that you would watch on TV. Would it hold up today? That's an interesting point. I don't actually know. I honestly don't know.
I haven't seen it in a long time either.
No.
I think perhaps it's a cleaner comedy, if you like. Like back in the day, they're offensive now, but they weren't offensive at the time, if that makes sense. I think comedy now is a bit more risky and a bit smarter, it can be a bit more black, shall we say. These days, if you look at the progression to Tune the Fat, Still Game and all that, whereas I think there wasn't any swearing, I don't think, in Rab Seen But for a start. Was there?
I honestly can't remember, man. Like
nothing
to nothing good understand.
Remember.
I don't think Rab C is one of the ones that couldn't be played anymore. Like a lot of
I think
the 70s, 80s would be.
Yeah, I'm just guessing because I genuinely can't remember, but I would imagine like most 80s things, there's probably a little bit of racism and a little bit of sexism that was like
cultural racism.
you know. Like movies like Police Academy, where you think, oh yeah, that's a funny movie, and then you watch it again with today's eyes, and you're like, holy crap, there's like, there's a lot of racism and sexism in that movie. So I would imagine there's a little bit of that in Rapsy.
Yeah,
I can't remember. I'm trying to remember some of the episodes, and honestly, my mind's gone blank.
It's been at least 20 years or something since I've seen him.
I remember. It's funny, like Jamesy, the friend, the best pal character, Jamesy Cotter.
Yes.
Like I remember him more than I remember Rapsy Nesbitt, and I don't know whether that's because like my name's James or Jimmy. Like I remember, like I'm sure I would like oh there's Jamesy. Like that's that Jamesy with the ginger bottle, the glass bottle of iron brew in his pocket. You see Rapsy Nesbitt, to me, that's the first thing that I think of. I think of Jamesy Cotter with the with his ginger bottle of iron brew. Ginger bottle, for those who are not from Scotland, is like your 750ml glass bottle of juice of iron brew or Tizer or anything like that. Just to translate, yeah.
Which you get 10 pence back on.
It used to be 50 pence.
It used to be 50, and then it was 20. Like like I remember, like where I grew up. This probably like overshading, but like where I grew up, if you found one of them just in the street, it was like winning the lottery, because you would grab it, take it to the local newsagents, and get a 20p bag of sweets, and it was like it was like the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
Well,
and we ran out of cigarettes to give bags of them.
So here we go. This one's bound to come up. Highlander.
Yep, I've got that over there as well. Yep.
Yeah, with the Frenchman.
I don't mind his accent.
Yeah,
I don't mind his accent. I think he did okay.
It's absolutely terrible.
It's terrible. You're on an island on your own with that one.
I don't mind that, because he doesn't really speak Scottish for a lot of it.
It's like it's flashbacks.
It's only in the flashbacks. And when he's in New York in the future, or 1985, the guy goes, "You got a funny accent, Nash. Where are you from? Lots of different places. And that's fine, because he's been around for centuries. So his accent is quite a bit funny. That makes sense.
Yeah, but when he's when it is like the contemporary, like 12 or 13, 1400s, and he's playing a Scotsman who was born and raised in Scotland. That's a terrible accent.
That's like the baseline of back.
That's fine to me.
I was going to go with 2 out of 10, but 1 or 2 out of 10 for Lambert's accent in Highlander. It's funny. Actually, my girlfriend had never seen Highlander, and maybe a year ago we watched it. It doesn't hold up. For me, it didn't hold up. I was like, oh yeah, because I was bigging up Highlander for my girlfriend because she'd never seen it, and I was like, we'll sit down, we'll watch it. It's such a cool movie. And then at the end of it, I was like, yeah, that didn't hold up as much as I thought it would. I still enough to buy the steelbook. Like I still, as a movie, it's still, I still wanted to own a copy of that, but
it's our superhero.
That's what I think the fact that it spawned a franchise is pretty awesome. Yeah. But yeah, Christopher Lambert's accent. No, I'm going to go 2 out of 10 for Christopher Lambert's accent.
Oh dear. Oh, Echoes. Yeah. I had an offensive wig on. I had to take it off. It was too hot.
What from a section?
I was told in secrecy. Greetings and salutations, Professor.
Oh, right, hi, Professor.
So, there we go. I forgot about him. Thank you for reading movies. Scotty.
Simon Pegg.
I think he does a no bad job, actually. It's his wife is Scottish. His wife is Glaswegian, so he's got an in there. I think his accent is pretty decent. And there's a good on the I think it's on the first Star Trek, or the first, the 2009 J.J. Abrams Star Trek. There's a behind the scenes feature where they touch on that, and the first AD on that movie is a guy called Tommy Gormley, I think, and he's a Glaswegian. So he was on hand to like help with the accent. But yeah, I think Simon Pegg does a decent job. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10 for his accent.
Who's shot for this? But what's the name of the actor that played Scotty originally in the TV series again?
Oh,
yeah.
But none of us know. Gareth, you've got that.
Is it Montgomery? Somebody?
Is that Professor?
He had a Glaswegian accent. He had was he not from Dundee, that fella, or something?
I'm just going to Google it right now.
He's a Canadian actor, isn't he?
Way behind.
Was it Canadian?
James Doohan. James
Doohan is Canadian.
He's putting on. I think when people see when Americans or Canadians, whoever it may be, people from outside the UK try a Scottish accent, would you agree, guys, that they don't go for they don't really go for a dialect. They go for the tourist accent. You know, I don't know, and the see you Jimmy. They don't go for.
What?
They don't go for like they don't. They would always be more authentic if they took the time to go. Right, am I going to try a Glaswegian accent, an Edinburgh accent? If you give it an actual a dialect, which might be a bit harder to pull off, but it instantly gives it more credibility. Yeah. The old Star Trek actor definitely went for the shortbread tin stereotypical Scottish accent, and I think Simon Pegg, because he's a fan himself, tries a little bit to emulate that.
Yeah, I would say that's probably true. Like he almost on purpose made it a little bit James Doohan-ish and less authentic, but I think he just did that with like a few words here and there, obviously with the catchphrase, for lack of a better word, or lack of a better phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Yeah,
but he's good.
Yeah, he's
7 out of 10 for Simon Pegg.
Terence, what do you think of Simon Pegg's accent?
Yeah, it was fine. I liked in the last one, Star Trek Beyond, when he met like a little alien and he was like, "All right, wee man." I was like, "Oh,
that was
just
good."
Made me think, "Oh, that's good."
Like in the first one, he was like, I would murder a piece and square sausage or something like that. But he threw something like that, and it was like the entire planet has no idea what that is, but like the 5 or 6 million people in Scotland are like, yes.
Is it only Scotland? Is it only us that get that in the UK?
It's definitely a Scottish invention. You get it in Canada because I've got relatives in Canada, and like as a lot of Canadians like to call themselves Scottish. I mean, they're not. You have Scottish ancestors. You're not Scottish anyway. But like you can get them in like butchers markets and farmers markets in certain places in Canada. Yeah.
Because I worked many moons ago in a previous life. I worked in an airport doing security. And see the amount of times you would see sliced sausage or long sausage exported out to like they would often be going on the flights to like Spain and stuff because there'd be like people that had settled over there, retired, moved over to Spain, bought a villa, whatever, and then you'd have the family going out to visit and they'd be bringing like the Cannes Iron Brew, the long sausage and all that. And long sausage it's thick and it comes in a block, so it looks like explosive. So see the amount of time I've had to clear a bag of that, right? And you kind of know, you're saying to the X-ray operator, you're like, I know that sliced sausage, mate. And he's like, I know, mate, we've got to check it for compliance. Cool. And you're pulling through somebody's underwear just so you can find this block of slice that you know it's sliced, and you're like, right, okay, cool, on your way, pissing people off.
Pulling through somebody's underwear to find the block. There's a soundbite.
So Noss is asking, never mind, Braveheart. Can you recommend a good Scottish representation film in any genre? Sadly,
my answer to this is Trainspotting.
Comfort and Joy.
For better or worse.
Comfort and Joy. Yeah, Bill Forsyth. That's a fantastic film. It's a great film to watch at Christmas. I love Comfort and Joy.
I'm going to write that one down. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, I've never.
It's fantastic. Bill Patterson. There's so many good. There's so many good representations.
Whiskey Galore.
I mean, that's like set in like the 1910 or something like that, isn't it? That's or where is it? Yeah. Is it the 30s or the 40s or something like that? I remember watching that like as part of the course at uni that I did. And it's a Scottish set film with probably Scottish actors in it, but like it's such a period piece. It's like saying it's Braveheart, like a representation of Scottish people. And you're like, I mean, maybe 1,000 years ago, like much like
all the good Bill Forsyth ones. That Sinking Feeling, Gregory's Girl, Comfort and Joy, Local Hero. They're all nice movies.
Gregory's Girl's a good shout. Yeah, I would say Gregory's Girl's a good shout.
They're all kind of sweet films. They're not.
Yeah.
We're not all junkie thug, football hooligan, stingy bastards in those films.
There is still a massive drug problem in Scotland.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that Trainspotting is an inaccurate representation, right? It's inaccurate that it's a fucking MTV music video.
Yeah,
it's really hit. You know that's probably inaccurate. But they do have, we do have. What is it? Do we not have the highest drug deaths in all of Europe? That's an actual statistic.
I think that's sadly true. Yeah.
Oh
yeah. So Trainspotting is not. It's not a misrepresentation in that aspect, but the fact that it made it into something really hip with a cool soundtrack, that was kind of debatable. Even though I fucking loved that, right?
Well, the point Danny Boyle always says that the reason for that was to kind of express the high of it, though. Like there has to be reason for people to go down the drug route, and that's what it is. You know, so the kind of glamorization of it was to kind of get that across that when you are on it, there's no high like it to these junkies, but obviously,
I don't think it really glamorized it that much. I mean, you've got the baby in the crib, right? And I seen that in the theater and seen that on the big screen. I was like, fucking hell, right?
Yeah.
And the whole sequence where Renton is having withdrawal and stuff like that. Yeah, it does send it home that being a heroin addict is no walk in the park. But it's great. But I don't know. Just because it's such a skewed. It is about a group of people that are all part of that culture. That it can probably send a bit of a negative message. But I'm not offended by it. Not like Braveheart, because I don't think it.
Are you offended by Braveheart? That never really came across.
I sense a Braveheart watch party coming on.
Yes, like I suppose like a good, yes, I suppose it depends on how you interpret the question. Like a good representation of Scotland on film, like Trainspotting was the first one that came to mind. Like, and I said sadly when I've said that, just because I was like, that's it's accurate, like you said, Terence. There probably is, but then Gregory's Girl, and I suppose Trainspotting as well, being more recent, more modern, even though it's like 97, 98 or something like that. Gregory's Girl is like is it early 80s or late 70s or something like that? It's, so it's maybe not a generational thing, but there's definitely that's an accurate, I think, representation of early 80s Scotland. It's like a couple of years before my time, but I did grow up. I was born in 83, so I did grow up in the 80s. So when I watch Gregory's Girl and I see the way they dress and I see that they played football on a red ash pitch at school, which is, I don't know why that was legal. But so that is an accurate, that did feel like an accurate, representation of Scotland. And then Trainspotting in the 90s, the area that I grew up in, very similar to the area of Trainspotting. Lots of drug issues. It's an accurate representation. What would be I don't know, what's a more modern, accurate representation of Scotland? I'm trying to think of anything from 2000 on.
Trainspotting 2.
Oh yeah, Trainspotting 2, yeah.
I haven't seen Trainspotting 2 yet.
That is good. It's
yeah, I have seen it, but I honestly, it doesn't, nothing about it kind of stayed with me. I can't really remember much about it other than the Begbie nightclub toilet stall scene.
That's the thing I was thinking of.
I honestly can't. That the Trainspotting 2 definitely didn't stick with me in the way that Trainspotting did. Again, I've probably seen Trainspotting 1.
It's a classic.
Half a dozen times, whereas I only saw Trainspotting 2 once, and I don't even think I went to see that in the theatre. I think I just saw it on Blu-ray when it came out. But yeah, that's. I
am honestly struggling to think of Scotland on film after 2000.
Yeah,
Sunshine on Leith.
You've got there was a film called The Angel's Share that was quite good.
Do you know that's and then Sweet 16 was quite accurate as well, but again, it's accurate, but in a negative way. It doesn't portray the kid, the Martin Compson's character in Sweet 16. I can't remember his character's name, but it's not a Gregory's Girl style happy movie. You know, it's another accurate representation of like the negativity of certain areas of Scotland, of certain
one I love, Orphans.
Yeah, Orphans is really good. Yeah,
love that film. Not seen it in a long time.
I know that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I remember reading Roger Ebert's review for Orphans, and he was annoyed at the fact that it was subtitled for him. When he saw it in a screening, it was subtitled, and he was like, "I understand these people perfectly well. Why is it subtitled?" That was in his review.
Yeah. I do remember the scene in Orphans when I can't remember the character or the actor's name, but when the brother is like carrying the coffin on his back, it's like that just broke me, because it is ridiculous, but like I know people like that who would do that. They think they're being altruistic and helpful and, you know, and moral and righteous and all of that stuff, but you're just being a tool, mate. Just, you know. Orphans is actually a good shout in terms of like mod, like, you know, I was going to say post 2000, but I think that might have been, was that late 90s?
It's 90s again.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. We seem to have a good run in the 90s of good films, and it's kind of dried up. Another one from the 90s that I love is Small Faces. You ever seen Small Faces? It's set in the 60s. Oh
yeah, I was going to say that's the Tongs, the 60s gangs.
Yeah, I like that.
Another one, actually, here's one that's definitely 2000s, but again, it's accurate, but in a negative way, but because it's a period piece. Ned's, Peter Mullen's film that he did after, I think he maybe done one or two movies in between, but so Ned's, again, is set in the 80s? 70s, set in the 70s, yeah. So that, again, I didn't grow up in the 70s, but that certainly rang true to me, but it's, you know, it's accurate for the negativity and the less positive sides of specifically Glaswegian, I suppose, as opposed to much like Small Faces. That's a that's a Glasgow that represents Glasgow and Glaswegians as opposed to Scotland, I would say, you know.
I think the trouble, not so much the trouble, but it's just as a people, characteristically, Scottish people can be quite pessimistic and sarcastic, and we like to.
I'm not sarcastic. What are you talking about?
We like to take the piss at each other, like, as opposed to, we don't really, you know, Scottish people don't blow their own trumpets really by default.
No,
therefore you're more likely to find well put together films that are dealing with darker issues or black comedies. You're not going to find an out and out. I'm trying to think, you know, a kind of like a Mamma Mia or a.
Well, we did get Sunshine on Leaf.
But that's kind of rare. So I think where we're probably best is when we're dealing with kind of darker subject matter. But have you just on if you like Trainspotting, have either of you seen Acid House?
Acid House, yeah.
I did. I saw that when it came out, but I remember nothing about it.
It's kind of dark as well, but it's so over the top and ridiculous that it's more on the comedy than Trainspotting, as I would say. It's worth checking out if you like Trainspotting.
Anna and the Apocalypse. That's a recent one. That's a musical.
Yep. Do you know, I've not actually seen that, but I the chap that made that, I know him kind of tangentially, and like he's a good lad, and I worked on one of his short films, and it's just the whole crew. It was a good laugh. I've actually got that. I've had that saved on my watch list on Amazon for like over a year or something like that. But I definitely need to check that out. Something that one that I've just cheated and Googled it there, but like something that I can't believe none of us have mentioned when we're talking about, like, you know, more recent films about Scotland. Filth.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No.
It's okay. I wasn't that.
I don't know why we didn't.
Mad on it. It was all right.
Yeah.
I like James McAvoy on it. He was fantastic, but
I think James McAvoy's really good, and I think he's a stupidly underrated actor. I think he's been in some bad films, but he never gives a bad performance.
I would go as far as to say that James McAvoy is our greatest actor of our greatest
of our generation, the younger generation,
by a country mile.
Yeah,
definitely. I would 100% agree with that. But Filth, that's again, that's probably just like the modern day Trainspotting to a certain extent.
Yeah,
in terms of
like Welsh as well. So it has that vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's you know, it's accurate. It's an accurate representation about like than some of the more negative aspects of life here. Not that Scotland's the only country with drug problems like that and corrupt policemen, but yeah. Sunshine on Leith would be the anomaly, and it's the only sunshine movie. Yeah.
I don't know. That was just really irritating to turn it off. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's my Scottish pessimism. I just can't take it. I think Bill Forsyth, he was the best at doing that sort of optimistic, sort of cute comedies without it being too sugary.
Yeah,
Scottish,
right. I think that's why he was such a great. And it's a shame that his career dried up. He went to America, made a couple of movies, and they all flopped, and he's never really sort of recovered from that.
I take it Bill Forsyth's old, like 5-year-old days now. He's not making movies anymore.
No, and he made a really terrible sequel to Gregory's Girl, Gregory's Two Girls. I watched that; it was awful. It was really bad.
I haven't seen like the reviews were enough to make me not want to seek that film out.
Yeah. It was on television, and I must have had nothing else better to do. It was.
I worked on a video shop when it came out, and it was amazing how many people came in though and asked for it. So like probably the only country that would do that, but it just showed you the popularity of the old one, that people were coming in and seeking it out. Over what blockbusters were at the time.
Weirdly, he was the inspiration. He was one of the inspirations for Robin Williams' accent in Mrs. Doubtfire, because Robin Williams had previously worked with him in a film called Being Human. I think it was called Being Human, and which flopped massively. And Bill Forsyth was one of the inspiration. His voice and someone else's voice was mixed together for Robin Williams' inspiration. I haven't seen Being Human, but I have seen the other American film that he did called Breaking In, that was written by John Sayles, who's a great screenwriter, director, and starring Burt Reynolds and Casey Siemaszko. How that film's not got a Blu-ray release, it's a shame, because it is actually a decent comedy film, and it completely flopped as well. I'd like to see that again in a good copy.
Scottish Folds.
Patrick's here. What the hell are Scottish Folds?
Scottish Folds.
Must be a card thing. Sounds like I'm going to fold.
That one's been over my head, but Andy's got a cheeky smile on his face. I think he might need to translate that one for us.
Yeah, is it sexual? So Dark Side of the Moon's here, but yeah, we've just done.
Hopefully, if you've been listening to Dark Side of the Moon, you'll be full in now.
Wait, yeah. So is it a statue of Gibson or is it a statue of Wallace?
It's a statue of Gibson as Wallace.
Yeah,
it's no longer there. They removed it, but it was there for a good number of years.
Historians believe that he was quite tall, don't they? That's the thing, that he was a bit of an ugly British guy and was about 6'5", 6'6" or something.
Yeah, they kind of addressed that.
Horrible History's even better.
Aye, they did. So why is nobody mentioned that shot of Glory with Super Ali? And do you remember that film?
Yeah,
I've not seen that one either.
Alan McCoist and Robert Duvall.
Alan McCoist and Robert Duvall in a movie.
Perfect cast.
Yeah, that's
is it any good?
I can't even remember it.
What's the stupid one that Charlie Sheen made in Glasgow in the 90s? I keep forgetting the name of it. And when he came to Glasgow to shoot the movie, he ended up getting taken up to Easter House to buy drugs or something.
That's where all his problems started.
Allegedly.
I'm going to Google it.
I have never heard of that in my life.
I've never heard of that either. No, I'm definitely.
Wow.
It was in the late 90s. I keep forgetting what it's called. And it's really hard to get, weirdly, but I seen it on Sky TV a long time ago.
I've just Googled it there, so it's called Obit 1997.
Yeah, Obit.
Right.
Yeah.
Obit.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. He came to Glasgow and he couldn't score any coke, so they took him. Some taxi driver took him up to Easter House.
Of course, because that's where you go.
There's newspaper articles on it online. It's funny.
Wow.
I guess there's no tiger blood in Glasgow.
Maybe that's what the tiger blood originates from.
I'm ready to know that.
Glass cow.
You got sheep's blood mixed up with tiger blood.
A shot at
There you go. Gibson's accent is no Robert Duvall in a show.
No shot at glory. Right.
See, even the greatest actors fall down when it comes to the Scottish accent.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
the man that
Mike
does
Miles.
what?
You finally get to show off that that VHS case, the axe murderer.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Move.
Oh yeah.
He'll be
Move now. Yeah, so his accent, I would say, I think he deliberately goes for the comedy of it. Like, I think he could do, if he wanted to, he could do a 9 out of 10 Scottish accent. But I think in both Austin
he's
Powers,
exaggerating for humor.
Yeah, both Austin Powers and Axe Murderer, he's playing for the comedy. But even at that, playing for the comedy, I'm going to give the accent a 7 out of 10.
What about Shrek?
Yeah, Shrek, because
Shrek's a very good
accent.
Apparently, he paid himself to redub his lines in a Scottish accent, after they'd finished it. I'm sure I've heard that or read that more than once. That he wanted to redo it all with the pseudo Scottish accent. Yeah, Shrek.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Shrek's accent. I don't know. It's hard because it's it's an animated ogre, so you're like, is it? I don't know. But purely accent alone, I'm going to go into decimals and give him a 7.5 out of 10 for that.
Oh. Praise.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because what did I say earlier? What was a 7 out of 10? I said Simon Pegg was a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Who did I say was an 8? Did I say someone was an 8? I think it's better than Simon Pegg, so I don't want to just copy Jimmy and say 7.5. So I'll go
7.45 then.
7.6.
All right, well, it's in Jimmy's background, so with his Wee Flea Circus.
Yep. It's also the greatest movie of all time.
Oh,
wait, that's it. There is.
I actually thought Richard Attenborough was Scottish, so what does that say about how good the accent is? It's only years later I realised it was actually.
Is he playing a Scottish character?
Yeah.
For the first half.
Yeah. The accent. You would have to give his accent like a sliding score because it changes a lot.
Right. See, I never knew he was playing a Scottish guy in the movie.
Yeah, there's a line he definitely is, because there's a line when he talks about when he first came down from Scotland. His first attraction was a flea market. What am I making you see the flea?
I forgot about that. Yeah. I remember the part where he's going on about seeing a flea circus, but I forgot that he said he was from Scotland. It's been a long time since I've seen Jurassic Park all the way through.
Jimmy, obviously the resident expert in this, but is there not a proper stereotypical Scottish line as well in it? Does he not say something like laddie or something? I'm sure he comes up.
Yeah. That's a big fucking dinosaur.
He does have a. I can't remember the line, but he does use the word laddie, which is like a total like Scottishism.
Nobody actually says laddie in Scotland.
No.
No, I've never said it.
Mike Myers not got some kind of Scottish connection as well. Is that not why he's?
Yeah, I think like his parents or one of his parents or one of his grand, because he's Canadian, and I think and again like a lot of Canadian folks have got Scottish they're only 1 or 2 generations away removed from their relatives, from their ancestors in Scotland. So I'm sure it may not be his parents, but it's maybe one of his grandparents is Scottish. Yeah.
Yeah. See, my 2 favourite actors who are non-Scottish doing a Scottish accent is, number one, well, for a male actor, it's Edward Woodward in The Wicker Man. Why the devil do you do it, girl? I love his accent. Oh, Jesus Christ! Right? I just think it's perfect. And the other one is this is not a movie, so I'm cheating here, is Emma Thompson in Tutti Frutti. I thought she was from Glasgow. When I saw that for the first time as a kid, I was like, she's from Glasgow? That's amazing. And when I seen her in Dead Again or something like that a few years later, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was going to say, she's done something more recently with a Scottish accent. I'm sure I can't remember what it is, but she does a good Scottish accent.
Perfect. That one for a Glaswegian accent, it was not perfect.
Yeah,
she just blends right in and that.
We've spoke about Trainspotting at length, and we forgot to mention, well, I think anyway, that Johnny Lee Miller's Edinburgh accent is actually pretty good. Yeah, because I thought Johnny Lee Miller was Scottish for years, and only once I realised he wasn't could I hear the English through. But the fact that he's not only taking on a Scottish accent, but giving it a dialect as well is pretty impressive.
No, that's a good shout. He definitely. I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10, man. I forgot about that because, like yourself, I assumed I assumed he was just as Scottish as Ewan McGregor, as Ewan Bremner, as Kevin. What's his name? Kevin. Yeah. I assumed he was just as Scottish as all of them, but again, not only does he do a good Scottish accent, but it's a good Edinburgh accent, and that's not unless you're from Scotland, and even unless you're from Central Scotland. No one's going to really notice the difference between a Glasgow accent and an Edinburgh accent, unless you're from Glasgow or from Edinburgh. But he did not only a good Scottish accent, but like a good Edinburgh accent.
Yeah,
can't argue with you there.
Yeah. Rob's got a Braveheart tattoo.
Is Rob not English?
He's Canadian, not Scottish. Doesn't say.
Had I been more confident enough to get tattoos in my youth, 100%, I would have had some form of Braveheart Scottish flag like tattoo. As it stands, I didn't get that in my late teens or early 20s. I waited until my late 30s and got comic book tattoos because
I once heard this story where this guy went to somewhere in the East Asia, like let's say China or Japan or somewhere like that, and he got drunk and got a tattoo. He went to get a tattoo, and when he was drunk, he wanted something that said "Flower of Scotland." Right, he wanted "Flower of Scotland," and he described to the guy what a thistle looked like. Right, he wanted a thistle and "Flower of Scotland." He woke up the next morning and he had a pineapple. It said "Flower of Scotland."
This is unique, though.
Yeah. And a story. Look at that.
I'm actually surprised after 1995 the NHS weren't just compulsory tattooing Braveheart tattoos onto babies and stuff like that. It was such a massive thing back then.
I'm curious what type of Braveheart tattoo. Who was it? Rob?
Yeah.
I'm going to guess it's a saltire with a claymore. But maybe you can let us know in the comments, man.
You tell us, Rob. So yeah, we missed out Fat Bastard from Austin Powers.
Yeah, I think that's like an extension of the "So I Married an Axe Murderer" character, isn't it?
There are a lot of fat bastards in Scotland, but it's fine.
It kind of makes me think of those sort of when you've got an uncle that when there's a little child about. He's like, "Oh, you get in my belly," right? It kind of makes you think of that kind of drunk uncle around children. I'm gonna eat you, son.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah,
all fired up before their bedtime.
Exactly. It's one of those ones where you're like, is it slightly offensive? Maybe and probably yes, but it's funny and it's not totally inaccurate. So, I think Fat Bastard gets a pass purely because it's not completely inaccurate and it is quite funny. To this day, that's me and the boys, the mates, we'll still quote that, quote Fat Bastard lines 20 years later.
I would say Fat Bastard's been adopted by the Scots. Do you know what I mean? As opposed to rejected. It's we're proud of Fat Bastard.
Yeah. Yes, we embrace our national obesity like no other country. Apart from maybe
Scottish obesity.
Hello, Heroic Waffles. How are you? Now we got someone. Dr. Impossibles. Albert Finney doing Scottish in Skyfall.
Yeah.
Yep. But it was good.
Pretty good. Is that the one? Is this just like hearsay, or did they actually offer that role to? I'm sure I read they offered that role to Sean Connery, but he knocked it back.
Connery, because I think it was the 50th anniversary, so they
That's right. Yeah.
That character.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a small role, so it didn't really jump to mind. But yeah, has Albert Finney's accent? Yeah, I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. That was a good accent as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, Dr. Impossible.
Oh, yeah. Well, what about Billy Connolly's Scottish accent in Mrs. Brown?
Terrible accent.
I haven't seen Mrs. Brown. I've seen Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Oh, that's shameful. I've seen Missy. I've not seen Mrs. Brown's Boys. I've seen Mrs. Brown. Yeah, that's a good movie. And you kind of, I wish he had done more more movies, more dramas, more acting.
He was
I just think, I mean, he's obviously an absolute national treasure. Like no one from Scotland doesn't like Billy Connolly. And you know, exactly. You just hand in your passport.
I can shit on Braveheart, but if I fucking shit on Billy Connolly,
no, you will be lynched. Yeah. Aye. But yeah, obviously, I mean, being a Glaswegian, his accent is very accurate, you know. and that is a good movie. Yeah, that is a good movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's Doctor Impossible, another one I forgot about.
Oh, Restless Natives. Yeah, the clown.
I remember
and
that
the wolf.
trailer over and over in the 80s. But
yeah,
the younger viewers might not know this one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to Google that one. I don't know that one. Restless
Natives. It's an oddity. It's from mid-80s.
Yeah, I doubt it's got a DVD release.
These clown and a werewolf, well, they wear masks. These two guys, and they rob coaches on a motorcycle.
Just looking at the poster.
I used to have it on cassette, but I sold it.
That's
sorry, Gareth. Found Buckaroo Banzai, though.
Yeah, where's the VHS of that, Gareth? Come on. No, I can't comment on Restless Natives, Dr. Impossible, Love Counterpunch, 1984.
I was thinking about that though, Dr. Impossible. Just
a very rare one that is. All right, well, from the makers of Trainspotting, Shallow Grave.
Of course, Shallow Grave. Yeah,
great film.
Good film.
I can't remember Christopher Eccleston's accent in it.
I can't remember either.
I'm pretty sure he's not playing a Scotsman, and neither is Kerry Fox. I'm sure. I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're both playing, English folks.
Yeah.
So yeah, great movie. But I'm pretty sure Ewan McGregor is playing a Scotsman, and he is Scottish. Kerry Fox and Christopher Eccleston. I'm 99% sure they're playing native English born folk characters. So
it's been a long time since I've seen it.
I loved that movie when it came out. Like, I was just like, this is like, everything about it was like, this is like, I mean, at that age, it's like, obviously you're like Tarantino movies and stuff like that, but like that felt like, Shallow Grave felt like the Scottish or the UK voice of that generation of filmmakers, just the way it was shot. I remember, like, I don't know whether it was the opening scenes but just the way it was shot with like the kind of the hyperlapse before that was even a term through the streets of Edinburgh. I was like, wait a minute, this is a cinema movie that's set in Scotland, but it looks so slick and so cool, and it's not a kitchen sink drama, and it's not a drug drama. It's a film noir, but it's not black and white, and it's not like about a detective in New York. It was nothing to do with accents, but my thoughts on that is Shallow Grave is a damn fine good film.
Can't argue with it, but it's been a hell of a long time since I've seen it.
Were you asking if Danny Boyle's Scottish, Gary? No, he's definitely not. He's like, is he not? He's Liverpudlian, I think, is he not?
Yeah, I thought so.
He must have a Scottish connection.
I think he got to start working on Taggart. I think it was Taggart that he got to start on, though.
And his producing and writing team, I think is it Andrew, who went on to direct as well. I'm sure part of his creative team back then, there was a Scottish element to that, I'm sure. So Danny Boyle isn't Scottish, but I'm sure he has a Scottish connection, like in terms of like his producing and writing team. I'm sure. Obviously, working with Irvin Welsh as well,
Oh yeah. Have you read the books? Any of Irvin Welsh's books?
No, I'm very much a kind of wait for the movie guy, even though I have
I tried Trainspotting.
I have Jurassic Park the book there.
I think it's quite a difficult read, isn't it? I think Irvin Welsh's stuff is all written the way that
I've read Trainspotting before.
I got stuck in it.
That was hard to read because it had it all in Scots.
Yeah. Japanese.
Hang on. Impossible again. He went to a preview screening of Ken Loach's controversial Sweet 16. And then they had to have the subtitles.
I remember there being like a bit of, much like you were talking about, Terence, I remember there being a bit of backlash about putting subtitles on. At the time, I didn't have an issue with them putting subtitles on because it is strong accents. Like, it's kind of something similar. I think something similar happened at roughly the same time with that film that came out in New Zealand with the guy that plays Boba Fett. What's his name?
Once More Warriors.
Once More Warriors.
Movie.
Yeah, that's a brilliant movie. But I remember going to a screening of that, and they had subtitles. They had subtitles burned in. It was like hard-coded subtitles on the screening because the accents were so strong. I don't think you needed them, but I didn't have an issue with it. Much like with Sweet 16, I can understand the distributor or whoever was putting it on, the festival, organizer. I can understand them making that choice, because they are strong accents.
I think Trainspotting had subtitles in America when it was released there.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I think it was the default for any film coming out of Scotland. I said, because Roger Ebert was sort of kicking up about it on his review.
Right.
Did Adrian Paul play a Scotsman in The Highlander? I can't remember now.
I mean,
sure.
Well, he's Quentin MacLeod, isn't he? So he's Quentin MacLeod, who is Connor MacLeod, Christopher Lambert's. They're cousins, I'm sure, in the continuity. So technically, he is Scottish, but I don't think he had. Do you know what? I've seen random episodes of that. I've seen the kind of the movies that came out of it, like
too,
Highlander Endgame. I've seen that for sure. I don't remember like religiously watching the show, so I can't remember if there was like Highland set, in the 1200s, 1300s with him as a Highlander, where that's where he would put on a Scottish accent if he did. So yeah, I'm not sure if he did put on an accent, and if he did, whether it was any good or not.
I recall they had some flashbacks in it, but I honestly couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. What's Limmy? What's Limmy?
I personally think Limmy is fantastic, but I do appreciate he's very Marmite. Like, some of the stuff he does is absolutely golden. Like, I think it's hilariously funny. But, especially when he's doing his sketch show, the next sketch could be a complete damn squib, like not funny at all. But yeah, that's all subjective, isn't it? But I like Limmy. I think he's really funny and quite a fresh. I think looking back on Limmy, he'll be seen as a bit of a pioneer in comedy. Like, he's still to this day doing something that no other Scottish comedian's doing. I mean, he's streaming on Twitch at the moment and he's reacting to stuff that's already on YouTube, and like no other Scottish comedian is really doing that,
Okay.
Yeah, he has his hit and miss, but when he hits it, it's good.
It's good.
Yeah, I think I've seen very, very little of Limmy. I think I watched one of the episodes when he had the actual TV show, and exactly what you said, Andy. It was like 1 minute I was in tears with laughter, and the next minute I was like, that's just pish. There's one, and again, this is not dissing the guy. Like, he's done, like you said, he's done something amazing. More power to him. But I think it was like hit and then miss and then hit and then miss. But my overriding memory of the Limmy show that was on TV, one of the skits that didn't hit home was like one where he was like doing a Tina Turner riff, and he was dressed up as Tina Turner, and it was like a cheesy 80s music video where there was multiple versions of him doing a Tina Turner dance, and I was like, I don't get it. Is this funny? This isn't funny. And I'm looking at the family, and I'm like, I don't get it. But like the skit before that was hilarious, and the skit after it was hilarious.
I like the character Falconhoof. The one Falconhoof.
Falconhoof.
Like a kind of. It's like a call-in sort of role-play game. That's good.
It's Falconhoof. There's who's the female recovered drug addict?
Jacqueline McCafferty.
Jacqueline McCafferty. She's funny.
And Dee Dee, the sort of stoned guy that's lying on the couch.
He's some good characters, but I think he's definitely. I understand why he's no longer got a show, because I think he was just too inconsistent. You're either going to love him or hate him. So I understand why BBC eventually kind of.
Yeah.
Although they did the homemade show that he did recently, that he did during lockdown, that's all shot on his mobile. Again, unique for a Scottish comedian. No other Scottish comedians doing stuff like that. So he's a bit of a pioneer, and he's got to be given. And he is funny, but just not.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I think he was ahead of his time, both in terms of the content, but also like the content delivery system. Like, he was before like Instagram and TikTok and like short 30, 60 second skits were a thing. He was doing that, So I think he was ahead of his time in that, and it was like if he was coming up now, like he would have blown up he wouldn't have needed the TV show because like generations younger than us, they don't know what terrestrial television is.
I think you make a good point there, and almost that like Lemmy felt he had to conform to what was norm at the time. A sketch,
like a 30-minute. Yeah, he had to exactly that. He had to conform to a 30-minute sketch BBC formula, whereas like that's not what he was. He was more like, these are the skits, and he put them online. So I think like if he'd came along 10, 15 years later, he would have found his audience that way and been just as successful.
Because I definitely think that people I can't think of any that are really big, that are like household names, but you can just go on TikTok and you'll find loads of what I would say are Lemmy inspired people doing Lemmy comedy and getting success off the back of it. But I'm quite sure if you asked them, they would say they were inspired by him.
100%, yeah. Well, but I'm curious, Gareth. So, as a non-Scots, do you even know who Lemmy is?
Nope.
Never
heard of him. I just looked him up. I'll have to check some of his stuff out.
I watched some of his sort of streaming things. They're quite funny. There's ones where he's watching old episodes of Surprise, and just making jokes about them, and they're funny.
You're not making out that Cilla Black's a patronising cow and all that. He's done a good one as well, where he does he goes back and looks at like kind of memorable scandals from reality TV and stuff. So he did one that was like going back and looking at when that singer, what's his name again? Oh, his name's escaped me. Get punted out the Big Brother house, and it's all very embarrassing for the guy at the time, and he'll just go over it and just kind of do a funny commentary on it. But I just find it, because my wife watches it and she's like, "What is funny about this? I don't even understand." And I'm like rolling about laughing. That's not he just doesn't get it, and it actually annoys her when she's like, "You're laughing at Lemmy, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Aye," and it like almost offends her. I find it funny, but anyway.
Okay, all right. What about the man who is Scottish but plays 1,000 accents? Egyptian, Irish, Russian, American. He does them all.
Connery doesn't have to conform.
Yeah. I think Sean Connery doesn't. Sean Connery has a Sean Connery accent rather than a Scottish accent. Like he's a unicorn. And
he's
I mean that in a good way.
He's not an actor. He's a movie star. He's in that same bracket as someone like John Wayne. Right, you're not going to get John Wayne to play a fucking Mongolian or a Roman centurion. He's going to play John Wayne. Yeah, and that's what Sean Connery is. It's like if you're going to have him playing a Lithuanian submarine commander, he's going to be playing Sean fucking Connery. Right? That's just the way it goes, okay? And it's fine because that's what you're buying into. That's why his name is above the marquee, because he's a fucking movie star. Brian Cox, who I think is the greatest living Scottish actor, right? Now he's not a movie star like Sean Connery, but
that's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
actor. Do you know what I mean?
McAvoy's kind of the same. McAvoy's more of a movie star than Brian Cox, but you're right. He's not managed to get to the point where, which I suppose is probably a compliment to Brian Cox and McAvoy. Because let's face it. See, this is maybe controversial, but I don't think Sean Connery's a particularly good actor. He's just absolutely fucking bags.
He's
got that presence.
But he's a movie star. Like Terence said, he's a movie star. Like Tom Cruise isn't an amazing actor, although Tom Cruise has had some amazing performances. But like he's a movie star. He's not an actor.
You stick Sean Connery in your movie and you just work everything around about it.
Yeah,
like you don't. Yeah, he is, as you said, Jimmy, a unicorn. Stick the big unicorn and let the unicorn run through your film, and it'll be fine.
Exactly, and it will only elevate your film. Like even Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, he's in it for like 5 seconds at the end, but those 5 seconds, it does raise the movie that little bit.
Yeah, it's an extra little push at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah. Be honest, Gareth. How long have you been waiting to show the Manhunter VHS? Because you had that ready like that.
Well, no, I got all my horror VHS here. So. I was just lucky that one was there.
Yeah, he's my favourite actor. Definitely, even though he's in the film for 5 minutes or something, Brian Cox in Manhunter, still he's creepy as hell. I find that as much as Anthony Hopkins made that character his own and it was iconic, it's slightly campy in comparison to what Brian Cox brings. He brings a more subtle menace to that character, and you feel the history that he's got with Will Graham when they meet. You feel you get that from William Peterson and Brian Cox's performance. It's fantastic.
I think they're two very different movies and two very different performances. I think they're both really good, but they're totally different. Like Brian Cox's performance as Hannibal Lecter is a good performance, completely different from Anthony Hopkins's Hannibal Lecter, which is also very good. I mean, he won the Oscar, I think, as well, didn't he, that year?
Best actor for 10 minutes,
8 minutes of screen time. Yeah, it's both different but very good performances from the same source material, which is fascinating. Like I'm curious, and I would venture to say there's a large percentage of the population, even like movie fans, who don't even know that Brian Cox played Hannibal Lecter like 5, 7, 10 years prior to Anthony Hopkins.
I haven't seen it, but like I'm not in that percentage that didn't know. I've known about it for ages. I've just not got around to watching it. But you two have just made me want to move it right to the top of the list. I might even watch it when I come off of this.
It's honestly it's one of Michael Mann's best movies. Like I think Heat is my personal favorite Michael Mann movie, but Manhunter, like in terms of just like the cinematography and the music, it's like it's so 80s, but like not in a cheesy way. Well, maybe a little bit, but
it does have a Miami Vice kind of vibe to it, but it rises out of that as well. With just some of the amazing shot choices. I love the scene where Dollarhide has the reporter in his apartment and his house, and you don't see Dollarhide right away, but his body is as if his head is cut off at the top of the screen, and it feels like symbolic to where his mind's at. I just love some of the shot choices in it. It's just incredible.
Gareth will send you the VHS, Andy.
Yeah, there you go. You still got your player?
We have a VHS player.
I'm sure I've got a Region 1 copy on DVD of Manhunter, and it's got an amazing director's commentary track with Michael Mann, and it's I remember watching that, and when I went through my phase of of watching director's commentaries religiously all day every day, and it was that's one of the ones that stands out as being this is like a masterclass in filmmaking from a master filmmaker.
Is there an Arrow release of Manhunter? Is there a kind of special label release? Is it just
I don't actually know.
There must be.
I don't. I've only got a Region 1 DVD. I've not got a Blu-ray of it.
Aye. It's not one I think I've seen in my many visits to CX and HMV.
Dino De Laurentiis production, so it's separate from all the other ones.
Yeah.
Because Dino, he didn't make Silence of the Lambs, and he kind of had a stick up his ass about it when it became a big hit. So he kind of made the rest of his life's work to make as many bloody Hannibal films and after it, because he made Hannibal, Red Dragon, which is the remake, and Hannibal Rising as well, were all Dino De Laurentiis productions.
Yeah. Hannibal Rising is a terrible movie.
I've never seen it. It's the only one other than Manhunter.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, let's not get off. Let's not get sidetracked.
It's the prequel to.
It's the prequel. Yeah, it's a prequel. And it's pish.
So it's Red Dragon. Red Dragon is awful.
Jesus, fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Red Dragon is was it Brett Ratner that did Red Dragon? And I've read the book, and it's more faithful to the novel, but it's almost like, here's the scene done by Michael Mann. Here's the scene done by Brett Ratner. Can you tell the difference? It lacks any tension. It lacks any 100%.
Although it's interesting, I think if anyone has never seen Manhunter, I think they will. I don't think they'll dislike Red Dragon. But if you've seen Manhunter and you watch Red Dragon, you're like, why would you remake a movie but make it worse? It's But I think if you've never seen Manhunter and you watch Red Dragon, and you think of it as a Hannibal Lecter movie, you think, it's obviously not as good as Silence of the Lambs. I don't think it's as good as Hannibal. I actually quite like Hannibal, but Red Dragon, having seen Manhunter, is a pish movie. Pish, to translate for anyone who's not Scottish, pish means bad.
Yeah, Edward Norton is so miscast as Will Graham, and it's just totally miscast. And it's interesting that in the original novel, the scene with the guy in the wheelchair and he's on fire in the film, right? In the novel, it was during the day, and he was outside of the newspaper building. That's how it's portrayed in the novel. And Brett Ratner has done it exactly like it is in the novel, but it just and instead of in the Michael Mann version, it's a car park, and it's just the guy's gone into his car. He turns around, there's a fucking flaming body coming at him. It's frightening as hell. And but in the Brett Ratner version, it's exactly like it is in the novel, but it lacks any tension. And he actually, in the Michael Mann version, it's a dummy in a wheelchair on fire. And Brett Ratner, they've actually got a stuntman in a wheelchair on fire. So they went to all this length to make it so accurate to the novel, and it's a waste.
And it just looks goofy. I remember like snickering at that because it just looks goofy.
I seen Red Dragon at the cinema, but I hadn't seen Manhunter at the point, and I maybe wasn't quite as analytical as I am now.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it, but similar to yourself, Jimmy. I kind of remember finding that just more like shockingly funny than villainly shocking. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's just my sense of humor, but I was like, heck, guy on fire in a wheelchair.
There's another scene where Dollarhides kills the blind woman's cat, is it Nancy Allen's boyfriend? She has another guy, and he goes in with the pistol and blows him away. That is really tense in the Michael Mann version. And honestly, when he gets killed in the Brett Ratner version, I burst out laughing. It was so goofy. I couldn't believe that they completely botched that. You know, because Michael Mann made the most perfect version of that scene, and it's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. How did we get onto that from Sean Connery?
Brian Cox.
Yeah, that's right. So we went from Sean Connery, somehow got to Brian Cox, and it morphed into like a Red Dragon slagging.
Yeah, and weirdly, it was meant to be Brian Dennehy. Michael Mann wanted Brian Dennehy, and it was Brian Dennehy that suggested Brian Cox.
That's right. He talks about that on the commentary.
Yeah.
I don't think Dennehy would have worked. I like Brian Dennehy, but I don't think that would have worked.
No, I don't think so.
I've not seen Manhunter. I just can't even imagine him in that role.
Okay, I'm googling Scottish Fold because I've never heard.
See if you get the same result as I did, because I don't think it's anything to do with Scotland. We're going to the Dr. Impossible Soft Top Hard Shoulder with Peter Capaldi and Richard Wilson movie.
Not seen that.
Glasgow with a hitchhiker.
Never heard of that either. Soft Top Hard Shoulder. Googling that one.
That's a good one.
A bit embarrassing that all these people are telling the Scottish guys what Scottish films to watch.
The young ones don't know. I don't know.
Hard Shoulder.
Well done with that, Dr. Impossible. I've not thought about that in a long time. I wonder if you can actually get that these days.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Peter Capaldi. God, look how young Peter Capaldi looks in that.
Watch Local Hero. See how young he looks in that.
I think I must have watched that before I knew who he was. Scottish Muscle is a decent film. Anyone know that one?
Christ, nope, googling that one as well.
The Scottish Fold is a cat, by the way, with no cartilage.
Yeah, I'm thinking there's an Urban Dictionary version of that we don't know. Oh, we've lost Andy. Andy's a way to find out what a Scottish Fold is.
Special shout out to the Scottish henchman in Enchanted.
Oh, yeah, that was top marks for the accurate phraseology in that. Not so much for the kind of stereotypical accent. Wasn't terrible.
Is that the game or the film?
Say again?
Is that the game or the film he's talking about? I'm
assuming he's talking about the film. Okay. I didn't actually. I've not played the games. But in the film there is a Scottish henchman who does have some Scottish colloquialisms.
Speaking of villains and henchmen, I love Dougray Scott in Mission Impossible 2.
Oh yeah. He's good.
What's happening to Dougray Scott? I know he was like. He was the first choice to play Wolverine back in the day.
That's right. Yeah. I think he's been fairly successful in television since like in the past 15 years, I'm sure.
Batwoman, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, and I'm sure he was a regular for a good few years in what's the Desperate Housewives, I think. I may be making that.
Yeah. You know, well,
I'm sure he was in that. Yeah.
Thank you, Mary Kisser. Sean's here. Hey, guys.
And you are correct, Sean. Jurassic Park is the best movie of all time.
Does he say that?
No, but he's got it as his icon, so I can only assume that he agrees with me.
Yeah,
I'm assuming. Point and look at poverty affected Glaswegians in the 70s was Ratcatcher.
Yeah,
hard watch. Don't know that one.
Very good movie. Tough watch. Again, like didn't grow up in the 70s, but it definitely rings true. But it's also like, you know, it's not a fun watch.
Okay.
That's Lynn Ramsey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Oh my God. That is such a good movie. And it's sadly, even though it's like, 15 years old, 10 years old, it's like sadly still present, like, for America. But yeah, that was Ezra Miller's, like, probably, I mean, I'm assuming that was his breakout role. He's brilliant in that. He is brilliant in that. Yeah. The cinematographer on that, I think is a Scotsman as well. Seamus McGarvey, I think his name is. Who was also the cinematographer on the first Avengers movie. Just random trivia.
But more trivia. Dr. Ian Fleming was impressed with Connery's performance. He gave James Bond a Scottish backstory and heritage.
Yeah, I do remember reading that. Yeah.
Manhunter is awesome, says Jeff. Oh yeah, there's Anna and the Apocalypse, a Christmas zombie musical. If you've got time for one.
I didn't even know that was Scottish. I need to check that
out. It's been on my watch list. Like I said, I think it's one of those ones where it was on Prime, like as part of Prime for a while. But then when I went to watch it, it was no longer free, and I was like, I'll not be stereotypical Scottish.
I was going to say stereotypical Scots.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to drop a tenner on that just yet. I'll come back on one of the streamers. But everything I've heard about Anna and the Apocalypse is good. And like I said, I know through friends of friends, the guy who made it, his short films are really good as well.
Dr. Impossible again says Sheena's coming out on Blu-ray and DVD. Yay!
Hey.
PG nudity. That's what we want.
Nice.
PG nudity. That's a different video for us to talk about.
Well, yeah, it's 80s film, so there's boobs and butt in it, isn't there? A naked lady swimming around in a. And then she gets out of the water, I believe, isn't it? Oh, it's Joan Allen, not Nancy Allen. Yeah, there you go. She's in Manhunter.
Joan Allen, what did I say? Nancy Allen?
Nancy Allen, yeah. And we all agreed.
It was either Joan Allen, Nancy Allen, or Karen Allen.
One of the Allens.
Okay. So Jonathan Townsley, he watches the Highlander TV show all the time, and he always did a Scottish accent. It was pretty good. Okay, but he's an English actor.
I don't know, mate. And
it's so good you didn't know it.
Definitely. And Endgame. The Highlander Endgame, he definitely doesn't do a Scottish accent, or if he does, it's so bad it doesn't even register as a Scottish accent. Yeah, I don't remember that. No.
More homework. Ken Stark and Billy Connolly in the Deck Collector. I remember that, but I don't
it's I did see it. It's not amazing, so it kind of just goes in and goes out. It didn't stick with me.
So yes, Jonathan's from Aberdeen. Jude Law played an Aberdeen man in a submarine movie.
Oh, I know the movie he's talking about, but the name of it escapes me. I did see that. Yeah, I did see that.
Okay.
I can't say anything about it because I can't remember anything about it, but I do know the movie he's talking about. Yeah.
Oh, Andy's back.
There he is. No, so the big question, Andy, is when you were away, did you find out what a Scottish fold is?
I did not. I did get a beer, so I'm sticking to
the Right, so probably the biggest thing to film-wise to come out of Scotland. Films about the Nessie.
I did have that in the back of my head as a movie to talk about, because what's the year on that? Was that before or after Braveheart?
That's a good question.
So the same year. Because I did think to myself when we're talking about the topic that we're talking about, I did think, was that the first movie that I saw that I remember seeing that had a Scottish element to it? And I was like, it was either that or Braveheart. But yeah, they came out in the same year, yeah.
because none of the leads are Scottish.
Is it Jodie Richardson? Julie
Jodie
Richardson? I think she does.
Ted Danson, Ian Holm.
Ian Holm, that's right. So I think Julie is it Jodie or Jolie Richardson?
Jolie, isn't it?
Jolie.
Yeah, Jolie.
I think she did an okay job with the Scottish accent, but again, it's like they're going for a more Highland accent because Loch Ness is more up north in Scotland. I think she did a decent job with the Scottish accent. I do remember thinking Ian Holm a wee bit less so. Like his accent wasn't as good, I don't think.
Okay.
But I do remember watching that, and like you, I don't have it anymore, but I did have the VHS of that, so I do remember watching that on more than one occasion.
From the makers of For Wedding and a Funeral. Oh, we'll get the kids in.
Yeah, that was an odd marketing strategy.
But have any of you been to Loch Ness?
Yeah, many times. Yeah.
Yes,
Many
we're on a boat. The dinghy boat trip thing.
So it's not just the English tourists and American tourists.
Didn't see Nessie. No, that's the next question.
That's a shame. That'd be worth talking about if you've seen that. Him.
It always not amazes me, but I'm always tickled when you think about like the size of Scotland compared to the size of England, but then the size of the lakes in England compared to the size of the lochs in Scotland. You're just like, how does that add up? Because like I remember going on this like little tour down in Lake Windermere, and they're talking about the size of Lake Windermere, I think, and then being the biggest lake in England, and I'm looking at it thinking, this is a puddle in Scotland. Not that it wasn't lovely. It was a lovely place. The weather was infinitely better than the weather is at Loch Ness or Loch Lomond or anywhere in Scotland. But I do remember thinking, this is your biggest lake? Okay.
I always liked, was it the Billy Connolly gag about the whole, he loved the creativity of Scottish people, like when it comes to like Walt Disney in America had to build a massive theme park, and create Mickey Mouse and create all these TV shows and everything to create a tourist attraction that would eventually, go on to make them millions. Whereas someone in Scotland just went, "Oh, do you fucking see that?"
and an entire tourism industry was born.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Built on.
Yes, I've been up there. There's a lot of trying to capture your money.
You not got Rob Roy?
No, I don't.
I was hoping someone would bring up Rob Roy. There we go.
I forgot about Rob Roy. Yeah, because it's Irish actor doing it.
Little blue Peter. Yeah.
Oh, there he is. There you go.
He's Rob Roy was on my list I want to talk about as well.
Yeah, I like that. I prefer that over Braveheart.
Do you know I haven't. Yeah. I haven't watched either of those movies in a good few years, but I think if I was to watch them both now, I probably would prefer Rob Roy. I remember liking them both at the time. I think Rob Roy was at 97. Was that a few years later? A couple of years later?
They were around about the same time. I think it may have come out a couple of months before Braveheart.
Oh, was it the same year? Oh shit! I thought it was a couple.
I know it was around the same time.
Is that whole it's that kind of like Armageddon syndrome that you wait your whole life for two Scottish Highland movies to come out.
Yeah, it was 95.
I thought that might have been a couple of years later. No, I definitely do like Rob Roy so much. Like I actually designed and got a custom steelbook made of it because there isn't a custom steelbook for it. And I was like, I wanted one to fit in with like you've got the Braveheart steelbook that's got like the sword on it, and you've got the in fact, let me just grab them.
That's cool. I didn't know you could get them custom made.
Yeah, it's I mean that's a different video to talk about, but like so you've got the Braveheart steelbook here. Let me fix the focus there, and then like the Highlander one, like almost lines up with it,
All right, cool.
And then I was looking for a Rob Roy one, and a Rob Roy one didn't exist, so I kind of like messed about in Photoshop and got a custom one made to match these two, and then
I need to get a Rita Sue Bob 2 one, definitely.
But yeah, the Rob Roy one, that's I think does he even try to change his accent? I don't think he does. I think he just does a Liam Neeson accent.
Celt's a Celt.
Yeah, but like the one of the things that stands out about Rob Roy isn't Liam Neeson. It's Tim Roth as Archibald, whatever his name is. He's just like deliciously dastardly in that movie. Like he's just hamming it up, but like in the best possible way. Like what a dickhead he plays, like, you know.
Yeah.
And I love the end of that movie. Like spoilers for anyone who's not seen it, but when they're having the duel, and you know, and Archie and Tim Roth's character is clearly a more skilled fighter, and he's just toying with Liam Neeson's Rob Roy, but then he just takes his eye off the ball for a second, and Liam Neeson just like grabs the type like his wee like, you know, fencing sword, and then grabs his own like, you know, like cleaver and just literally chops him in half, and I'm just like. That was brilliant. Brilliant.
Eric Stokes play a Scottish guy in it as well?
He does. Yeah, he's aye. He's because I was literally going to say at least he's got the ginger hair. I do remember Eric Stokes' accent being not amazing, but at least he tried.
Yes. Sean prefers. Oh, there you go. Rob Roy then dances. Then dances wolves. Jonathan says Black Sea.
Black Sea, yes, the Jude Law submarine one, yeah.
Oh, no, that makes sense.
I thought that was pretty good. I've seen that at the cinema.
Yeah, I remember watching that in the cinema. Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that one.
Kind of like just went much like a submarine. Like it just.
Young Adam. I've never seen Young Adam, Dr. Impossible.
No, what's like Young Adam?
Yeah, Young Adam's pretty good. I like it. It's a bit of an oddity in that it's more like an erotic thriller than anything else.
Oh, I have seen that. Is that the Ewan McGregor one?
Yeah. Ewan McGregor and Tilda Swinton and
the early ones.
What's his name? The Orphans director. Why am I forgetting his name? Peter Mullen. Yeah, and it's directed by the guy that did Hell or High Water recently. It was one of his first movies. Like I think Young Adam was his second or third movie. The first one he did was like a really low budget like indie movie that was set in Scotland. Whose name totally escapes me, but I'm sure I remember when they were filming Young Adam in Scotland. And I'd seen the script and I was like, this is pretty racy, this movie. And then I saw it when it came out a year later, and it was.
It kind of deals with like sexual abuse and stuff, does it not?
Well,
was it? But yeah, kind of. It's one of those ones that's kind of the guy's kind of motivation, not the motivation, but the reason for his behaviour.
The Outlaw Kind. Why does that ring a bell?
Oh, I think you mean Outlaw King, which is the same director as Young Adam, and I can't remember that guy's name. I have to Google it.
Did you say this guy did Hell or High Water?
Yeah, the same director.
The guy, the writer that did like Sicario and all that.
Right, Hell or High Water.
There's something Sheridan, isn't it?
Taylor Sheridan, yeah.
Taylor Sheridan. Is that?
Oh, okay.
Did he direct Young Adam? Did he?
Hang on. Let me just Google it. What's his name? Where's the director?
Right.
David Mackenzie, yes. Written by Taylor Sheridan, directed by David Mackenzie. David Mackenzie, who did Young Adam, Hell or High Water, and he also did Outlaw King as well. Chris Pine, he did a decent job with his accent as well.
Right. I have never saw it.
It's a Netflix original, or at least it was acquired by Netflix.
I remember it coming out. Is it not Robert the Bruce?
Yeah. So it's basically like if you could be reductive and think of it as a Braveheart sequel, because it kind of starts just after William Wallace is killed. Like there's mention to William Wallace in it, but he's not in the movie. He's just mentioned in the movie. It's very much, you know, the Robert the Bruce, the Outlaw King. That was a pretty decent movie. Like I remember thinking that was one of those movies where I was like, I would have liked to have seen that in the cinema, but it was you know, just on Netflix.
Okay.
Who? What's his face though? Taylor Johnson that plays Black Douglas. His Scottish accent's shite in it though. It's like.
Do you know? I thought it was all right, man. I think see the bit where he screams, "What's my fucking name?" I was like, "Yep, that's." I have seen guys like you at 1 a.m. sounding exactly like that. That's so. I think
that was maybe all right.
Yeah, that one line gets a 10 out of 10. The accent overall maybe a 6, but that one line where he's like, because like for anyone who's seen the movie, like his kind of like his side story is like the English monarchy's like, or the ruling class is taking away his name, and he's trying to get his family's name back, both literally and figuratively. So just like in one of the battle scenes, he's like, chopping the fuck out of like, some of the English soldiers, and he's just like, what's my fucking name? Yeah, that was a moment that stuck with me. So I was like, oh yeah, that's I've seen guys like you do that. Yeah.
Being from Ayrshire as well, it's a novelty that the Battle of Loudon Hill is in it. Loudon Hill is like in Cumnock, which is like 20 minutes from where I stay. So just watching something on Netflix, a Hollywood movie that has like Loudon Hill in it, like basically like a feature, like something that's 20 minutes away. Just never thought I'd watch something that had Cumnock in it. I mean, Chris Pine is in Cumnock, basically.
Yeah.
But
it felt really strange watching Dial of Destiny with Glasgow City Centre as meant to be New York of the 1960s. That made no sense to me. That made no sense to me because you've seen films set in New York in the 1960s, Rosemary's Baby, Midnight Cowboy. That didn't look like New York at all. Why didn't they just shoot it in a studio backlot? Right? For all the good it did.
It's been used for so many films over the last like 10 years. It's became like the go-to.
Was it World War Z, The Batman, and
World War Z, Batman, The Flash,
cancelled Batgirl movie.
Yeah, there's a pretty decent, and it's a fairly short video on the Radio 1 YouTube that Ali Plum, who's like the Radio 1 film guy, he's got like a series on the Radio 1 YouTube about like UK filming locations, and they did Glasgow fairly recently, like within the past month or two. I remember watching that video just recently, and they do a good side by side, like actual like Ali Plum in Glasgow, in the same shot with the same framing as like there's Batman from The Flash, or from or at the Necropolis where they filmed like The Batman, and a whole bunch of things like that. But talking about World War Z, like one of the funniest moments ever in cinema. In my cinema going experience was watching World War Z, and it's like right at the start of the movie, and they've got an aerial helicopter shot of George Square. Square, for anyone who's not in Scotland, is like it's like Glasgow's Times Square. It's nowhere near as impressive, but it's like it's Glasgow's Piccadilly Circus, or Trafalgar Square, but. So there's the opening scene in World War Z, and there's an aerial shot of clearly, only people from Glasgow or Scotland would know that it's George Square in Glasgow, but it comes up on screen, it shows the aerial shot, and then there's the text on screen that says Philadelphia, and just everyone in my screen just burst out laughing. Like, and it's not supposed to be funny, but like we're watching what is clearly George Square. Everyone in the Glasgow cinema knows that's George Square, but it flashes up on screen Philadelphia.
The one that really annoyed me was Hobbs and Shaw, because they had a car chase up St. Vincent Street, and they did the same thing in The Flash as well.
Yeah,
they have a car chase up St. Vincent Street, but they don't. It doesn't feel as though they're going on to any other streets. They're just going up St. Vincent Street and then back down St. Vincent Street, up St. Vincent Street, back down St. Vincent Street. So it lacks any excitement for me. I'm just like. They're just going up and down the street. Why? That's not a car chase.
I mean, again, I'm kind of like paraphrasing, or kind of just taken from the Ali Plum video on the BBC Radio 1 YouTube page, but like it talks about like the reason that a lot of studios come to Glasgow to shoot, other than the tax rebates and whatnot, is the way that Glasgow City Centre is built and designed. It's a grid system, which is very reminiscent of modern. I say modern, within the past 100 years, like cities in America, like Philadelphia, like Boston, like Manhattan. So like whenever they're doubling for places like that, Glasgow, at least aesthetically, and the fact that it is a grid system, it does kind of translate quite well. And they use it for San Francisco as well, because for some, the way the city centre is in Glasgow, there is a few streets that are really, really hilly, and it does look like you could be San Francisco. Like there's the Halle Berry movie in Tom Hanks, Cloud Atlas. I remember when they were filming in Glasgow, and it was doubling for San Francisco, and you've got Halle Berry and Keith David, like in 70s outfits and 70s cars, at the top of St. Vincent Street having a shootout, and you're just like, this is trippy. This is very trippy.
Because wasn't Fast 9 filmed in Edinburgh, where he zip lines through the whole city? You've
got John Cena on a zip line in Edinburgh. What's not to love? Terrible movie, but
That was the best bit.
Yeah, that actually was the best bit, because it's John Cena on a zip line in Edinburgh, and it was like, yeah, that's the most memorable of Fast 9.
Yeah.
Or F9, the Fast Saga, to give it its official title.
Yes, I'll get it right, so people know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So before we let you go to your deep fried Mars bars,
how long have you been waiting to say that one?
Have you ever had one?
I haven't actually, no.
Yeah, in the 90s I had one. It's fine.
Did they come first, or did the stereotype come first?
I'm convinced the stereotype came first, and then Chippy's just Chippy's just jumped on it so that they could charge £20 to sell to an American tourist a deep fried Mars bar.
Yeah.
Fancy one, huh? Yeah, so Terence mentioned Mean Machine with a Cockney doing a Scottish accent before we started.
Yeah, Jason Statham.
Oh, that's right. He plays a Scottish
fucking this is line in it.
I totally forgot about it. I actually quite like that movie.
I think it's the best version of The Longest Yard. That's my favourite version.
I think I do. I would choose that one over the over either of the American ones. Like, I did like the Adam Sandler one, but it's like, that's, you have to like Adam Sandler to like that movie, and that's, I think Adam Sandler's a bit like Marmite as well. But yeah, Mean Machine. I would take Mean Machine over the Adam Sandler one, or over the original Burt Reynolds one.
Yeah, same.
I can't remember Statham's accent though.
Yeah, he doesn't have many lines. It's when he's the sort of violent guy that's
an animal, isn't he?
Yeah. And he says to some guy, "I'll kick your fucking head in," like that. It's like Jason Statham trying to do a Scottish accent. It's funny.
I mean, Jason Statham angry shouting does seem like a very Glaswegian thing.
It's an actual fit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it seems like it would be a good fit. What would you rate his accent, Terence?
2.
Okay.
It should be Jason Statham-esque.
Right.
It takes you right out of the movie, but it's fine. It makes me laugh.
Is him punching a prehistoric shark more believable than his Scottish accent?
Yes.
Statham's turned out some shite, isn't he, over
the
years?
If I had to, what would you say are one of the worst of all time? If you had to say the worst accents.
The worst Scottish accents? Oof.
Harrison Ford in Last Crusade.
Oh, that is bad.
Even though it's a joke accent, right? He's kind of he's having a laugh.
I'm yet to see the tapestries.
I thought he was meant to be Italian when I seen that the first time. It's like, is he meant? Because he had a beret on, and he's like, Italian, and it's like, no, he's meant to be Scottish. It's like, fuck.
I'm actually drawing a blank at bad Scottish accents. Like, I mean, there is plenty.
An easy kind of point of reference, but there's definitely worse out there than his. But Christopher Lambert's in Highlander gets thrown around, I would say, as being
I'll let that one slide because he was a Frenchman.
It's a film that's called Highlander, but it's pretty much predominantly set in Scotland, other than the New York stuff.
Nah, the last name I've got is Dog Soldiers.
Class.
Yeah.
And
good movie.
50. Was it 5 hours or is it 50 miles to the nearest bone if you're out in the country? And
that's definitely accurate.
The Dog Soldier's not mainly shot. Was it not more, all the stuff on the exterior stuff not done in like Norway or something though?
It was, yeah.
I think though, are you talking about like accent wise in Dog Soldiers? Is anyone other than Kevin McKidd playing a Scotsman in that movie? I don't think so.
Yeah, because the lady's not Scots, is she?
Yeah, and is it Sean Pertwee that's in that as well?
Sean Pertwee,
he's not playing a Scotsman, I don't think.
So, Scotland looks gorgeous.
Nope, I've gone all bloody. There we go.
Right. One last one from the chat. Jonathan saying Port Soy. What's that? That's popular with movies.
Port Soy.
Is he meaning whiskey galore?
I don't know. There's nothing.
Port Soy. We might need like translate that one for us, mate.
I can't understand.
Are we drowned?
I think Jonathan's drunk.
He's holding
a beer.
My brothers, just on the topic of bad, terrible Scottish accents, Gareth, I can see my brother Maracassa has put a comment up here. I don't know, guys, he's talking about, do you want to find it? Maracassa? You might find it and bring it up.
Did I miss it? Where is it?
I don't know if you guys would agree with this one, if you've seen it. It's a recent film. I think I can put it up.
If you can. I don't know.
I'm not seeing it here.
Is it not showing up?
I don't think I can. Anyway, I'll just read it out. He says, "Hi guys, special shout out to quote unquote Scottish henchman in Uncharted."
Oh no, we talked about that.
Oh, that was when you were out.
We talked about that when you were
But who is that actor?
I don't know, but he's never been to
one
Scotland.
that came to mind there, because we mentioned Christopher Eccleston earlier.
Yes.
G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra.
Oh yeah, that's not a great accent.
He's like, what's it? Just the way he would say
I have fulfilled my family's legacy or something. It's a terrible line. It's terribly performed in a terrible accent.
Yeah.
In a terrible movie.
Send for Storm Shadow right away. It was just pure toe curlingly bad.
Yeah, that's definitely a bad one. That's definitely a bad one.
Okay, so the actor from Uncharted is Stephen Waddington, and the character is called the Scotsman. So
I don't think the character knows that he's a Scotsman.
Oh, he's born in Leeds, bless him. So it's the same.
Yeah. We won't hold that against him.
He gets so lost trying to put the accent on that it actually becomes like
it's parody. You
can't even hear it. It's so because he ends up kind of murmuring it because he can't get his mouth around it, but it made the film.
He has had a few drinks.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. Just we could understand the comment.
Right. Unless you lads have got anything to say. Any other films or you can think of?
There's one thing I think of. There's one missed opportunity for a Scotsman in a film that always pisses me off, and it's in The Rock, right? When Sean Connery is fighting.
What'd you get this guy? That's classified.
My wee daughter's going to steal my thunder here. Hello.
Hello. Hi, you. How are you?
What are you doing at your bed? You stole my moment. It's the bit where he's fighting the American dude, and he's trying to round about the well. He's fighting his mates, and they're having a bit of a punch up, and he starts trying to piss him off by saying, I think he calls him an Irish prick, and then he says, "Did I tell you that my old man was English or something like that?" He thinks he's trying to annoy him, and I don't know if it's done deliberate, if it's supposed to showcase the ignorance of Americans that they've got no idea.
No, he's assuming he's English, and he says, "Did I tell you my old man was Irish?" Because it's kind of going for that sort of IRA kind of thing.
And then he does him in, he kills him, and he doesn't say anything, right? And it's absolutely crying out for him just to say, like, you're human. I can't see
you can't say, but we know exactly what you mean. It's a missed opportunity. Yeah.
And he doesn't do
it. This guy before he kills him.
Stitch that, Jimmy.
That's fine. I'll change. That's fair enough.
Yeah, he is playing a Scottish guy because they actually say he's from Glasgow.
Yeah,
Glasgow,
70 years
Glasgow,
ago.
Scotland.
Yeah, Glasgow, Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah, something tells me, like, and I say this as a Michael Bay fan, something tells me they didn't really go into that much detail about the subtleties of that exchange that you're talking about specifically, Andy. Yeah. I think that's a missed opportunity that was never on anyone's radar in that movie.
There is this kind of online sort of belief, though, that he's actually John Mason is actually James Bond.
Yeah,
he's just been packed away in prison all that time.
I think that's just retroactive wishful thinking. Like, I don't believe for a second that was anyone's intention at the time.
Yeah,
I think everyone's just like, actually, that fits. Let's just say, yeah, maybe that's true. And I think
he got busted in the 60s, which kind of ties in at a Led Zeppelin concert for some reason.
Yeah. I think that's just retrospective wishful thinking. I would say that's what that is.
Yeah, it's a class film.
It's a cool theory, though. It's a cool theory.
The Descent. Does that count?
The Descent is a brilliant. Actually, yeah. So it's got Scottish actors playing Scottish characters, but I don't think it's set in Scotland. It's set like the Appalachian Mountains in America somewhere, isn't it? But yeah, that's a brilliant movie. The sequel, less so. Like they retconned the end of the first one. Like spoilers for anyone who's not seen The Descent, but like the original ending of the first one. In fact, have you guys seen this? Because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Yes, I've seen both versions.
I've not seen it, but on you go, mate.
Are you sure? Right. Okay. So the original ending of the first one, like she thinks she's escaped, but it's just all in her head. She's still trapped in the mountain, presumably about to die. But like they retconned it and like put the alternate ending became the canon ending, because I'm not sure if that was the actual
because
ending.
When they released it in the States, they went with the alternative ending.
Is that right? So yeah, so the alternative ending, she actually did escape, and then that's how she was able to be in the sequel. But I thought the original ending was such a gut punch. Like it nailed on, you know, the status of a great movie even more so.
All the Americans that I've spoke to about The Descent, they all agree that the UK ending was the best.
Yeah. But
it's like unusual.
Yeah, to Yam-Yam's,
normally there's an alternate ending that everyone knows about, but there's only one that was released theatrically. It's quite unusual to have two totally different endings.
Yeah,
different countries.
Yeah,
that must have been one of those situations where it was like, you know, a totally different distributor for America who was like, yeah, we'll buy it and distribute it in America, but we want the happier ending because you never know, sequel. And that's exactly what happened.
It's possibly because it was quite a big deal. 2007, I think it came out, and it did really well in this country. It may have got released here first.
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Maybe when they took it to the States, they went, you know, if it's doing so well there, it might have potential for a sequel. So let's get the other ending in there.
Yeah, I would venture to bet that's exactly what happened. But yeah, to Yam, so if we're talking about Scottish representation or Scottish accents, I mean, I can't remember the actress's name, but she is Scottish, playing a Scottish person. So, you know,
but was she putting on her telephone voice?
Maybe a little bit. I mean, I'm putting on my telephone voice just now, so that you and anyone who's not Scottish can understand me.
I'm rubbish with names and dates today.
I'm constantly being told to slow down and speak more clearly when I'm doing these because of my thick Scottish accent.
That's one of the Scottish YouTubers I've got two of these here. Do you get that a lot in your videos? I don't get it a lot because I'm not a huge channel, but I've had it a good few times where people and they're quite rude about it though. They just say, lose the accent, or like, can't understand the words you're saying. With no other feedback, but it pisses me off. They lose the accent, pisses me off. Because it's like,
no, I've only had compliments about the accent from like, you know, from my 10 subscribers. I've only had compliments about the accent, but from my family and my family's and, you know, like extended family, they're like, yeah, you need to slow down. But that's not to do with YouTube. That's just in general life. They're like, slow down. Say that again.
And I've been like, I need to be more like his Scottish telephone voice is much better than mine, so I need to do some.
Yeah, so I do try and make myself a little bit more legible on YouTube because I understand how cryptic it can be.
Yeah.
Speaking to a Glaswegian.
So you got it.
I don't script any of my videos really. I sometimes put bullet points in, but I tend to just go off the top of my head. And the trouble is that, and when you're doing one that's, especially the more passionate you are about the video. When you get a run, when you kind of get into a rhythm, you start getting faster and you forget. Because I've noticed that sometimes when I've done a video on something that's like a particular favourite, I get a wee bit quick and I can kind of be a bit harder to understand, basically.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I just wondered if he's got plagued the same way I do. There's one. I won't single the guy out. There's one guy, because if he wants to keep helping the algorithm with commenting,
he's commenting. That's good.
But he's the same guy, so he's obviously watching, and he just keeps saying, "Accent's terrible. Can't understand you. But he keeps coming back, And I'm not. It's not as if I'm a critical drinker. That's like 1.5 million subscribers. So there's plenty of other YouTubers he could, but he just keeps coming back.
Maybe he's just got like a specific thing against Ayrshire accents. Like Glasgow accents. Me and Terence are fine, but it's your Ayrshire accent that's clearly the issue, mate.
Perhaps might be the case.
Right. So.
Oh wait, hang on that. So just on that note, Gareth, let's put you on the spot. Accent-wise, as a between the three Scotsmen on the chat, do you struggle with anyone's accent?
The whole stream I've just been guessing.
Yeah. Google Translate on hand.
Yeah. I've watched so many of your videos that I can hear it no problem.
Oh,
and I'm well.
At least someone's watching.
So you're the one. Thank you very much.
Well, Terence when Terence is singing, he loses his accent, just like ABBA.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you sing your content.
I seen there was a comment about earlier on. Did that get addressed when I went into the quantum realm?
Which one?
There was one about a comment about Sheena Easton up saying.
Oh yeah, Sheena Easton. Yeah. No, what's the film Sheena?
Yeah, Sheena Easton's our bone of contention because when she was in when she was in Miami Vice, she was in season 4 of Miami Vice. She got married to Sonny Crockett in Miami Vice. That was like a 3-part story, and she had a Scottish accent, and that was what 1988. 1988, she's in Miami Vice with a Scottish accent, 3-part episode. At 1990, New Year's Eve. Look this up, right? She's never been back since because she got fucking booed for coming on with an American accent. Right? She's never been back to Glasgow ever since. She's never even mentioned the fucking place.
I love Big Jerry B, right? Big Jerry Butler. I think he's just such a lovable rogue, but he skates on ice for me as well. He treads a thin line when it comes to that. He quite likes putting the old American accent on when he needs to, and then
he's definitely. I think a lot of Scottish actors and a lot of Scottish TV personalities they'll de-regionalise or they'll soften their accent just in order to be heard and understood better in Scotland. It's something that I've got relatives who live in Canada. They still speak with a Scottish accent, but it's changed, it's morphed to make it more legible. And I think Jerry Butler has just kind of decided that like his life will be easier if he just tones down the Scottishness of his accent purely just so he can be understood.
I totally get. And Terence said that he does that himself. Like I totally understand that. But I don't agree with completely changing the accent to. Like I think Jerry
lose that. I just make it more legible. I just try and
I think that's perfectly fine to de-regionalise, as you said, Jimmy. But just do a Sheena Easton and just go, no, actually, I'm just going to invent this American accent. It's a bit.
Sometimes some of the phrases come through. I did a review of Breaking, and I was talking about the show Soul Train. No, we never had Soul Train here in Scotland. I was really scunnered that we never had it. And I'm like, scunnered? They don't know what the fuck scunnered means, right? Sometimes these phrases come out and people do ask me, it's like, wee? What does wee mean? Like small.
Give us a translation of scunnered then, Terence. Give us a translation of scunnered. Go.
Scunnered. Just kind of like a bit
bloody annoyed.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it sounds. Basically,
a bit jolted, scunnered. In that context, that we never got Soul Train as a show on UK television, so I've always felt a bit scunnered by that. But thankfully, YouTube, I've been able to catch up on all those wonderful performances, things like that. That was what I was saying in it. Yeah, I didn't even realize I'd done it, and when I was editing it, I was like, "Oh fuck, scunnered." They'll figure it out. They'll work it out.
If I do,
have any of you havered?
Try and make a funny of it, and I'll put like a graphic up just to
rather
than shoot it again because I can't be asked. But there was one I forgot, and I think Jimmy had watched the video, and he put a comment on basically translating for them.
I think it was pish because I literally did that in this chat as well. I think you used the word pish, and I was like, I think that's just a Scottishism. I don't think that's a universal word like pished or something being pish. So I was like, Pish equals bad. You know that. I think I put that comment on. Yeah. Somebody in the comments, Rob's Vintage Video, has just said Andy's accent is the hardest to understand out of the three. Nail like Andy.
There you go. That must be why I'm getting all these comments.
100%. I would have guessed mine would have been the hardest. 100%. I thought mine would because I think I speak the fastest.
I think I've got quite a low resonating voice.
Yeah, this is low. Yours is faster.
More that than the next, maybe, but
you do have a sultry, deep radio voice, mate.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned I married an axe murderer earlier.
Oh yeah,
because I had a school teacher, and before that film came out over here, I had a school teacher who saw that in New York. She went to New York and she saw that film with a New York audience, and all the Scottish jokes in it, they did not laugh. Like the scene where he's going, all right, we've got a paper down, let's get pished and all that. The audience, she was laughing. She thought it was hilarious, and none of the audience found it funny. And she told us about this, and this was months before it came out in the UK. So I went to check it out when it came out, and the audience here were just fucking stitches at those parts. It's weird, isn't it? Just like... It's probably why it flopped. It's probably why So I Married an Axe Murderer didn't really do very well.
Yeah, definitely part of it.
A lot of that humour just didn't fly.
Did I read recently? Is that getting am I making this up? Is that getting a 4K release? Did I make that up?
Yeah, it had a 4K release for some reason.
Whoa, that's surprising.
That's so funny. Like random films like that didn't make a lot of money, that are quite niche. Like random films like that get a 4K release, but like we still don't have The Abyss.
Or True Lies.
Or True Lies, yeah.
Yeah.
Abyss, True Lies, Terminators, proper ones.
There's a series of True Lies now, isn't there? Is it?
Oh, it's pish. I watched the first episode.
It's not very good.
No.
Again, pish meaning not good, yeah.
Let's get pished. Bob wants to hear my...
Oh, yes. Very good.
Can I give her no more, Captain?
No, he said the Scottish, he said the Scottish accent.
Oui, mon brave. I'm on the spot now, trying to think of them. I'm Conor McLeod of the Clan McLeod. How's that?
That's you doing an impersonation of a Frenchman doing an impersonation.
Oh no, that's
You do a Sean Connery.
Yes, actually I can. Ready?
Here endeth the lash.
There you go. Here and no one's better than the accents than him anyway. That's why he won.
It's funny. You say ask, do a Scottish Sean Connery, and the first one, much like yourself, you said that the first one that comes to my mind is like the prom queen line.
The prom
in The Rock.
The child was there. I didn't want to say it when the child was there.
It's such a badass line.
Losers always whine about that best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen. That one.
That's the one.
None of you fuckers are leaving here until we find out which cut did this.
Ooh, that's bad. That's bad, mate. That's bad. 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10.
That would get you glass.
Yeah, that would get you glass. Yeah. As your friend, never say that in a Scottish pub. Or if you are going to say it, make sure I'm filming before you start.
Oh, here's one I forgot about.
Oh,
Johnny Depp in Alice in Wonderland. There's parts in it where the Mad Hatter actually starts speaking with a Scottish accent. And allegedly, he got the idea from watching Ramsey Nesbitt to do this.
I find it more amusing just thinking of Johnny Depp sitting there at his face watching Ramsey Nesbitt.
Wait, did he not have a Scottish accent in Finding Neverland? Like for the whole movie?
He played J.M. Barrie, didn't he?
He played J.M. Barrie, yeah. I remember thinking, am I making that? Is it a Scottish accent he's got in that movie?
You would have to.
I think he did. I think he did. Yeah.
Weird.
There's been lots of memes from the scene with him sitting on the bench with a wee boy in the past few years. I can't remember any of them, but like that movie has had a resurgence purely because of the memes.
Is it sort of Amber Heard related then?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I always see it as the gaming one, the one where like it's always to do like when you're an adult, you can have all these games, but the caveat is you'll never have time to play them. That's the one I always see.
Yep. Yeah.
You have all these games, but you won't actually have time to play them.
Yeah.
So Matthew Binney, who's a Scot Aussie, apparently. Well, Aussie Scot, because his father's from Scotland.
A raging alcoholic, as they're called.
You must have an amazing. You must have an amazing sense of humour, though. Like Scottish and Australian. That's
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not a funny guy, I'll be disappointed.
Oh, it's hilarious. Matthew Binney's the man.
Bloody brilliant.
Square go. That's very much a Glaswegian thing. Square go. Square go. How would you? I'm curious, Gareth, do you even know what that means? Gareth, do you even know what that means? Square go? No. So a square go is as a Glaswegian. I think it's just Glasgow. Maybe it's whole of Scotland, but it's like
that's elbows in. Oh, fisticuffs.
I've no idea how that came about or what the kind of the etymology is with that phrase.
It's like a square boxing ring, isn't it? Square goal. That's what I've always thought it is.
That makes sense, I suppose. Yeah.
There's a lot of stupid things like that.
Tom Stoltzman is Scottish, and he's 2 times world's strongest man.
Yep. They've got their social media is hilarious. Yeah.
Build them tough up there, do we? That's all those pies.
Lots of food and lots of tossing cabers.
Beg your pardon.
Exactly. That's not a sexual euphemism, kids. That's literally, part of the Highland Games. I feel like that needs a little bit of an explanation because it does sound overtly sexual. Yeah, it's nothing. It's not. A caber is basically just a giant log that you would throw. So tossing a caber is basically throwing a giant log as a test of strength.
Showing off, isn't it?
Yeah, but when you're built like a tank, why not?
Have any of you tossed a caber?
I have actually. Yeah.
Oh, in a kilt.
Yep.
All right.
It's it was a very small one. Yeah. That's an interesting one, I suppose. How many of the 3 Scots guys here? Do any of you guys own a kilt?
No, I've worn one on many.
Wore it once.
Many times.
Wore it to a wedding in '98.
I own not one but 2 kilts. I've got like a fancy kilt. Got like a fancy kilt, which is like a the outfit you would wear to a wedding. And I've got like a casual kilt. Like if I was not that I'm a big football fan, but if I was going to like a Scotland game or something like that, it's like you'd wear that kilt with like your Timmy boots and your Scotland shirt. So I actually have to.
I had one of those machine washable kilts.
Yeah, it's not. It was like 20 quid or something. It's not expensive. The fancy one is more expensive. Yeah, but that's interesting. Like whenever when people are asking about kilts and like when and where you wear them, it's like the easiest explanation that I can give to people is like anytime you would wear a fancy suit or like a black tie type event.
Yeah,
like I would wear a kilt. Like if I was going to a wedding, I would probably wear a kilt. If I was going to like a black tie dinner, I would wear a kilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good enough. A good explanation.
Did you wear it like a true Scotsman?
Well, so I have a rule about this. If it's a rental, absolutely not. Even though it's been dry cleaned, no. If it's a rental, you don't go true Scotsman for what I hope is obvious reasons. However, if it is your own kilt, then yes, it's very freeing.
True Scotsman.
That's to clean the blood off from the fight.
Yeah, it's cleaned anyway. So.
Yeah. But when it's a rental, no.
There we go. So, what's this?
You guys get your own tartan?
Oh,
I don't have one.
No.
My family name doesn't have a tartan.
No, my family name is, I think, originates from France or something like that. So, like, we definitely don't have a tartan. Although, so this one I had on a kilt at one point. So this is you can't buy this anymore, but this is from Slange. You boys might know that. The shop Slange. They do like modern like Scots kilty type, traditional wear. So this is the.
Oh
this,
right, yeah.
This is the rampant line, with the kind of the alternative Scottish flag symbol, but in a Superman shield. So I did want to get this made as a kilt, like to have this as the actual tartan pattern. But the one company that I contacted to do it, it was A, too dear, and then B, actually the Slange, I think, had to stop selling this because they got contacted by DC or Warner Bros. Or something like that. So this is one of my favourite hoodies because it's like a Superman Scotland thing, but you can't buy it, and you can't buy it anymore because they can't make them anymore.
I'm just imagining a like Krypton just being full of Scottish people now. No.
Right, so I own a square foot of land on a manor in Scotland. So technically, I own all three of you, right?
Ah, true. But do you invoke Prima Nocta, or are you quite cool?
It just depends how well you tend the gardens.
Fair enough. Whereabouts is your square of land?
I don't know. It was about 25 years ago I got it. The wife wouldn't let me change the passport to put Lord on it, but because legally I'm allowed to. But
yeah,
and Rob's own square foot too. So it's a scam. Shoot. So that's area of the moon. I don't know either. There.
I didn't want to bust your bubble, but yeah, that sounds like a scam, mate. That's like like I own a star and I own like a square foot of the moon. Like, do you, pal? Really?
I tend to visit my square foot of the moon soon.
Sponsor a Scotsman. You can sponsor me if you want, mate.
Oh yeah, there's big Mick Rafferty. Good evening. Yes, Mike.
I think we covered that earlier on. Big Mick here
an hour and a half ago.
Yeah,
Big Mick was a solid 8 out of 10 for accents.
Yeah.
I think that's what we gave him. Was it 9? I can't remember.
I think I gave him 8 because we were acknowledging that he's playing for the comedy. Like I think Mick Myers could do a 10 out of 10 Scottish accent if he wanted to, but he's deliberately playing it for comedy.
Yeah, and I would say Shrek's probably his best as the final.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, let's wrap this up. As my ears are ringing from Scottish people.
Yeah.
You should try going
to berated that for 2 hours.
This is the most I've spoken to a Scottish person in a long time. I'm not lying.
Oh dear. Where's all the Scots people?
Right. I'm really interact with people outside.
I've been dying to ask Terence, is that your real name? I'm assuming it's not.
Yeah, well, I changed it 10 years ago. 2013.
Okay.
It's a made-up name. It's meaningless. I need to design my own tartan and my own.
Well, I think you should.
Yeah, nice. I got to do it properly.
Tartan. Yeah, that'd be quite good.
Yeah, some palm trees in there.
I'm curious then, if it's a made-up name, like how did you make it up? What was the story behind it?
Because my original name is Irish, Maguire, and my nephew couldn't say it properly, and I wanted to change it anyway because of past history, and my nephew couldn't say it properly, so he said Maguana. He kept calling me Terry Maguana, and I was like, I kind of like this, and I'd been meaning to change it, and I'd like the sound of it. I thought about it for a month, and I changed it by deed poll on my birthday in 2013.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's a cool story. Maguana. Yeah. Maguana.
But that is my real name, yeah. So
there's probably too many William Wallaces already.
Yeah.
I've met a few William Wallaces.
Yeah.
I met a lot of Charlie Browns for some reason.
Right, let's wrap this up. It's a Sunday night. These guys have got to go out drinking and fighting, so.
Yep.
What did you have for lunch today?
I literally had a rolling square sausage. No, wait, hang on. Rolling square sausage with potato scone and a fried egg. So I am a walking, talking stereotype. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
I was I was out for breakfast this morning, and I didn't have it, but my wife did have haggis, so we're pretty stereotypical as well. She had haggis on her breakfast, and I normally get the full Scottish, which would involve me having haggis also, but not today. But,
okay.
I went to Greg's.
I think we've adopted them.
Do they have a Scottish menu up in there?
I don't think so.
Black pudding, pasty, or
no. If you say you had a vegan sausage roll, we can no longer be friends because the vegan sausage rolls are awful. Nothing against vegans, but they taste terrible.
It's full of herbs.
Why they're so grumpy?
In January, which is always a winner.
Say again, mate.
We get the haggis, neeps, and tatty Scotch pie in January in celebration of buns. Well, maybe that's just an Ayrshire thing. I don't know. Do you get it?
I've never seen that in Greg's up here, man. No.
No, me neither.
Ayrshire thing then.
What animal is that?
I love haggis. I do.
Yeah, I do like haggis.
And I do like a lot of Scottish things.
That's 100% getting clipped by Gareth later, isn't it?
Haggis was something like I came to later in life. Like I don't think any child tries haggis and likes it for the first time, but I think I grew to like haggis as an adult.
Yeah.
There's haggis is actually like it's one of my favourite burger toppings. There's a hotel chain that does a haggis burger up here, and it's bloody lovely. Like it's basically just it's a burger but with like a haggis fritter as a topping. It's very nice.
It's quite common.
That sounds spectacular. What hotel is that?
Yeah,
so it's the Rad group. So they do like Lockside House Hotel down near you, Andy.
Carol as well.
Yeah, and they've just bought the Brigadoon, which again is down kind of near you, Andy.
Aye, definitely. They have it.
Gareth, these are nowhere near you, so you can't taste these. I'm sure you've got nice burgers down south.
Haggis on pizza is nice.
Haggis on pizza, yeah, I've had that a couple of times. That's quite nice. Yeah.
Haggis as well.
I think it's funny. Haggis as a topping is something that I've had way more than I've had on its own. Like haggis as a topping on pizza or on a burger, or so I've probably had that more than I've had like an actual round haggis.
Have you ever tried to sort of convince someone that it's an actual creature in its own right?
All the time.
That can be fun.
It's hilarious. Like if you hadn't said that, I was going to try and convince Gareth that it is. I was going to I've got a baby haggis.
I quite like it. I quite like that. It's like considered awful. Like they won't. Well, it's awful, so they won't actually even allow it into the country. Can't export it. I just think that's quite funny.
I think when you describe what it is, how it's made, and how it's presented, it doesn't sound appealing. Let's be honest. But ignore all of that and just taste it, and it's nice.
Okay, put some ketchup on it.
What? Fuck off.
All right. Before there's a murder, we'll hang this up.
Ooh, still terrible, mate. Work on
it. No? Okay. All right.
With Scottish guys, your accent would be down, but
I think we are harsh critics on accents, to be fair.
Yeah, you're dissing everyone tonight. So thank you everyone for joining us and these three Scotchmen. So
stay tuned for the Irish one.
Yeah, I can't do a Welsh one because there's not any Welsh films, so apart from the Twin Town, that's about it.
The Irish one, just us three doing our Irish accents.
I wouldn't commit that crime on the world.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Thanks.